I'd like to welcome you all to Clark County School and call this meeting to order. This is the regular meeting of the Clark County Board of Education. Let us all first stand and observe a moment of silence. And during this moment of silence, I'd like to especially remember the families of the students that were injured at Great Mills High School in Maryland this morning, and the family members our district may have lost during the last month. All right, thank you very much. We'll start out with the Pledge of Allegiance then. Pledge of Allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I should also wish everybody a happy first day of spring. So happy first day of spring.
It's going to snow tonight?
Oh, well, maybe they'll be the last one. All right, the first item on the agenda is the adoption of the agenda, and just to note that there was a late change to add item number 32, which is a closed session item. So, are there any? I'm sorry, it's on the agenda that was put in front of each of you all.
On item number 7, if there is changes to be made, is there a way to also look at the procedure as well as the policy?
I think the procedure was changed.
The procedure, we voted in already, now we're looking at the policy, but can we go back and visit the procedure?
You know,
I don't know if you would on this one, but not the other one.
I think we could probably discuss it, but I think we are probably prohibited from taking any action about it. Is that reasonable? Do we need to amend it to allow for discussion of the procedure also?
You could have discussion tonight, but because it's first coming up tonight, you couldn't take any action on that.
But I guess specifically, do we need to amend the agenda to include a discussion about that, or can we just simply bring it up at the time?
Well, I think if you amend your agenda to include that, that may prohibit you from taking action on your policy, but I think you're positioned to be able to take action on your policy tonight, the procedure being separate. You could discuss it tonight, but I think you'd have to take action on it later.
Well, is this the first reading of the policy change only? So we could,
So it has to bring it back next month.
right.
At that time, so is there anything?
We can look at, I would recommend looking at the policy at the same time.
Is there anything that would prohibit us from at least talking about the procedure, just in general terms? Then?
No.
Okay, so we don't need to amend the agenda to just talk about it.
I think because you're creating a record, it wouldn't hurt to amend it, but I don't think you have to. I mean, if you want to add it to your agenda so that it carries forward with your records into the future, I don't think that hurts anything, but I don't think it's mandatory that you do that. In other words, it's a general meeting. I think you can discuss anything that you want to.
Ms. Ritchie?
We want to table it, put them both together? What are we?
If we tabled it, it wouldn't come back to what, next month?
I wasn't insinuating that you had to table it.
Right, I'm
saying-
just throwing out,
Yeah.
yeah.
I hate to draw it out again for another meeting.
Okay. Just put it out.
I know.
So,
It's at your discretion if you want to, I mean,
I think if you make a revision to your policy on this one tonight, you have to come back to second reading of that policy.
And discuss the procedure.
At next month's meeting, you have to do the second reading of the policy change.
What if there's no-
And the procedure change.
what if this policy doesn't go through at all? Then you've got a procedure, then what? We just,
Won't need a procedure if you don't have a policy. You wouldn't have a procedure for,
we've already got the procedure, don't we?
if you do away with the policy, then the procedure would be useless.
I think the only question is, do we need to make a formal amendment to the agenda to include a casual discussion about the procedure?
And my answer to that is I don't think that you're required to, but for housekeeping purposes, it would seem to make sense.
And But you also implied that if we amended it, that might somehow negate our ability, if there was a majority that wanted to make changes and revise the policy, or did I
Well,
interpret that?
but I think where we finally arrived at is we have to have a second reading of it anyway, so that rule wouldn't seem to come into play tonight.
Whatever you
Are
think.
you all happy with the agenda the way it is then? Or,
If if the policy was to be voted down, then, and the procedure goes with it, that's fine.
well, I think the policy and the procedure, I don't think we can take any action on the procedure tonight. We could talk about it, but we can't take any action.
I thought Paul just said if the policy was gone, the procedures.
You're saying if you do away with the policy, then you wouldn't need a procedure anyway. You wouldn't have a procedure to follow the policy, so it would be automatic.
But we couldn't do away with the procedure tonight anyway because of second reading requirement.
Still,
But if you do away with the policy, then the procedure doesn't mean anything anyway. But you could do away with it if you think it means.
And it's just a revision to an existing policy, as I understood it. It's not, that was the question, should it be revised?
So are we happy with the agenda the way it's written?
That's fine with me.
Okay.
I'll make a motion to adopt the agenda as presented without amendment.
All right, motion by Dr. Kudak,
Second. Go ahead.
second by
Take it to fifth.
Mr. Farrell. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, the adoption as put on the table and included in the packet and as revised has passed. Next item is the approval of the minutes. There are two meetings, the February 20th meeting and the February 27th meeting. Are there any concerns or changes for those minutes?
I make a motion to adopt both sets of minutes as presented.
Okay. Motion by Dr. Kudak,
Second.
second by Mrs. Six. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right. The minutes are approved. Now, students, the fun part, student and staff recognition.
As you might notice, we obviously have some recognitions tonight. We don't normally have this large crowd at the board meeting, so we're proud to recognize some students tonight. The first group we'd like to recognize is the Justice Elementary group, the Lighthouse group. So if there's any of those students out in the hallway, you want to come to the Lighthouse? We want to make sure everybody gets in for the photos. Justice Lighthouse, leader me. Should have 8 students, possibly.
This is off to a wonderful start.
Mr. White,
I'm locked out.
Okay, our first group we'd like to recognize this evening is from Justice Elementary School. It's the Student Lighthouse Team from Justice, and so far this year, the Student Lighthouse Team has helped raise money for the American Red Cross to help in last year's flood victims, and also they conducted tours for the Leadership Winchester class, and I was in that class and was one of them that got to be led around the building, and was very impressed with these young folks. They know the building as well as the teachers do in that building. Very proud to have them doing that. So during the month of April, they're going to be hosting the school-wide leadership day. So if you're there for any of those, that process, you'll see them in action again. So we'd like to call it first, fourth grader, President Annette Miller. Levi Ross, Vice President.
There you are. Congratulations. Oh, let's do that again. Make sure we get it right.
There you go. You want to look? Levi may not be here.
Is Levi here?
I don't think he is.
Okay. Third grader, Hagan LaPresti.
There you are. Congratulations. Let's make sure we get a good picture here.
And Doran Riddick.
There you are, sir. Oh, and I'm not ruining the picture, am I?
Second grader, Brandon Christopher.
wiped out.
There you are, sir.
Nothing.
Look at this young
I
lady
didn't fire
right
him.
And first graders, Katara Mason,
There you are, ma'am. Congratulations.
and Bryson Daniels.
I don't think Bryson was here this evening.
All right, thank you. Our next group is the Baker Intermediate's academic team. On Saturday, March 3rd, Baker Intermediate School's 5th grade academic team competed in the Regional Governor's Cup competition. The team made a complete sweep, taking home the Quick Recall Championship, the Catherine Hume Sportsmanship Trophy, and were the overall 2018 Governor's Cup Grand Champions. Congratulations to the following academic Bulldogs: Jones Howard,
There you are, sir. Now, we've got to get a picture here. Congratulations.
Yes, sir.
We'll be here for an hour.
I want to make sure Mama's not upset with me.
Landon Runyon,
Congratulations.
Olivia Sandlin,
All right, you got to get these pictures right. Good job.
Grace Owen,
Congratulations.
Jared Parsons, Noah Taylor, Hayden Cockrell,
There you are, sir. Congratulations.
Garrett Gohan,
Congratulations.
Janisa Smith,
It's Genesis.
I apologize for that, Jane. Ireland Chalk. And a special salute and thank you to the team's coach, Mr. Steve Smith.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Here you go. I'll let you hold this and you stand in front of your group. You all did it. Good job, guys.
Our Baker Intermediate Odyssey of the Mind team. Next group. Baker Intermediate students are using critical thinking and problem-solving skills in a creative way through their Odyssey of the Mind program. Odyssey of the Mind is an international education program that provides students with creative problem-solving opportunities. Odyssey of the Mind is a student-driven club that celebrates student creativity and talents. On February the 24th, two Baker Odyssey of the Mind teams traveled to Shelbyville, Kentucky to compete in the Odyssey Eastern Regional Competition. Both teams entered under different divisions and faced schools from across Kentucky. After the scores were calculated, both Baker Intermediate teams advanced to the state competition on March 24th in Union, Kentucky. This makes back-to-back appearances for Baker Intermediate in the state competition. This is a huge honor for the Baker Bulldogs and the Clark County Public Schools. Good luck at the state. The students are Ryan Jackson,
That young man back there wants your picture. May not have me yet, he's got me. Congratulations.
Thalia Roddy,
Congratulations.
Trent Conboy Holden.
Congratulations.
Harrison Ballard.
There you go. We'll spin you around, we'll get you the official handshake. Congratulations.
Kayla O'Hara.
Down to this end. There you are. Congratulations. Congratulations, man.
Lauren Clem.
Around, we're gonna have fun. Let me get the other hand. Congratulations. And you want to go down there, that's how we'll organize
Connor
this.
Bowen.
We'll get this. There we go. Congratulations.
Alexandra Crawford. Hannah Manley.
Congratulations.
Landon Runyon.
Congratulations.
Owen Barney. Not here. Caitlin Hall.
Congratulations. Oh, you gotta get the picture here. You can Photoshop me out, don't worry.
Ian Fitzgerald.
There you are, sir. Congratulations.
And that's the team, but a special thank you and salute to the team sponsors, Ms. Heather Crowell, Ms. Sarah Driesbach, Ms. Janice Gillespie, and Mrs. Lacey Branham. Thank you all personally.
Come there with them, Mr. Gillespie.
Yeah.
She's going to do some major
Thank you
squishing.
very, very much.
Two rows, two rows.
Two rows.
Two rows.
Now you can figure out how to organize it best then.
There we go.
Two
Everybody
rows,
this way.
folks.
Looking this way, smiling pretty, looking sharp. Gotcha.
They're problem solvers, they'll figure that out.
Thank you very much.
Here they talk just a minute, my guess is the next group's high school students, and they're probably out in the hall.
So,
Stay.
You gotta go what?
Maybe I'll see you tomorrow.
That's the former pastor's
Dr. John Allen. And our new pastor's this past Sunday is his first.
So they just left.
No, well, maybe almost 2 weeks.
Oh, wow.
It'll be 2 years in July. Oh, he was so good.
All
Our last group that we have to recognize tonight is the Mentors to Meals program at the Karen downtown. It's a group of high school students made up of the Beta Club and the National Honor Society. These high school students do an amazing job of meeting the Baker students right where they are. They help the Baker students with their homework. They teach them a concept they not grasp, and they build relationships of trust and acceptance that middle school students usually aren't quick to make. This program simply is not possible or done without any excellence, without the high school tutors and mentors who give up their time beyond any hour requirement that they will fulfill for Beta or National Honor Society. In addition to this, the high school students helping our Baker students academically, all of these high school tutors do an exceptional job mentoring and encouraging the students they work alongside. This impact is much bigger than something that will show up on a report card and go a long way in helping these students holistically as a person. So we really appreciate the work that you do. The students are Emma Mitnesser,
For the official photographic, congratulations. Thank you very much. Appreciate you.
Tristan Hayes,
There you are, sir. Congratulations.
Megan Riley,
Congratulations.
Tony Lynn,
Thank you.
Sarah Kubakan,
Congratulations.
Julia Claire Hatton,
Hatton. Want to make sure we got the name right. Congratulations.
Carly Grissom,
Congratulations. Thank you.
Maxwell Clark,
Congratulations.
and Haley Goldheim.
That must be a good family.
There's also Hannah Thomas.
Congratulations.
And I apologize, Hannah Thomas, I passed that name over, I apologize.
All right, thank you very much.
And the sponsor of this group is Mr. Joseph Miller from the Karen.
Tall and behind, short in front.
Get one more percent.
Thank you guys for everything you do, especially on
What we do now, let's go.
I invited them all back to work session. Kids are there.
I thought it was gonna be a pension meeting when I saw the guards in the parking lot.
Here, Judy, I'll get my own pen.
It's fine, I've got another one.
All right, Pearson, nobody signed in for public comments, so now we'll move to third item on the agenda, which is state district updates. Mr. Paul Christie.
A few things to mention here quickly. The breakfast in the classroom at Campbell Junior High started in mid-January, and it has been a very successful program. For the month of February, the breakfast participation has gone from 184 breakfasts served per day to 561 breakfasts served per day, and it's still growing. We continue to see increases so far this month in March. As of March the 9th, we've been serving an average of 588 breakfast meals per day. That's huge for kids. Second chance breakfast at GRC has really taken off since the return from Christmas break. In February, we served an average of 555 breakfast meals as compared to last February when we only served an average of 254. Increases in breakfast meals continue in March for an all-time high of 665 average breakfast meals per day. 655 out of the high school, we're still working on that. I think we can still get better than that, but that's half the population, or a little less than half the population. I want to commend the cafeteria staff and all the school staff at both of those schools for working and supporting these the breakfast program and our cooks and our lunch and breakfast program. And at this point, it truly makes no sense for no Clark County child to go hungry at this point. Each year, performance groups throughout Kentucky compete for the privilege and honor of performing at the Kentucky Music Educators Association Professional Development Conference. Groups submit a recording of the pieces they perform during the school year and are selected by blind audition. In 2017, Baker submitted the recording of their Distinguished Assessment Festival performance and was selected to perform at the 2018 conference. They were the youngest choral group to be selected. Baker was selected to perform alongside other groups, such as the University of Kentucky Chorus, the Asbury Women's Choir, a few middle school and high school groups. Baker traveled to Louisville on Friday, February the 9th, and performed at the Cathedral of the Assumption. Congratulations to that group. On Wednesday, March 7th, Baker Chorus received their fourth consecutive distinguished rating at the KMEA District 7 Music School Choral Assessment Festival in Lexington. At the event, the groups performed 2 prepared pieces for 3 judges, then sight read for another judge a piece that they had never read or had never heard in 5 minutes without the director ever singing it to them or with them for the first time. All 3 judges gave them a distinguished rating for their prepared pieces, and the sight reading judge gave them a perfect 40 out of 40 score. Baker's received a distinguished rating every year, but this year earned the highest individual judges' scores so far in the school's history. So congratulations to that group too. These students will be recognized in an upcoming GRC baseball game too, where they will sing the national anthem. Migrant program, migrant education program is set to date for the Summer Migrant Explorers Camp. We'll be meeting 3 days a week from June the 5th through June the 27th at Campbell Junior High School. This year, we're also partnering up with the First Baptist Church to send the students to their Read to Succeed summer program in addition to our program. We're currently looking for volunteers to help with the summer program. So if anybody's interested in volunteering for that, we certainly could use the help. On March 15th, several GRC students attended Transition to Your Future conference at the BCTC in Lexington at the Newtown campus. The students participated in tours of the new Science Center, and they met with various agencies regarding programs and opportunities for post-secondary life.
A lot of great things going on in the district. Thank you very much. Anything else to add? All right, so we'll move along then. Item number 4 on the agenda is 6-month attendance update.
Good evening. Month 6 for the attendance. This was a weather month. Congratulations to Strode Elementary, Strode Station Elementary, 93.06 for their percentage. They led the district. A little bit of a rough month, 91.71% for the district. That's what we hit with the district attendance percentage August 16th, 2017 to February 27th. 2018, 93.76 for the year.
Questions?
Let's see, last day of school as it stands right now is,
Last day of school for students is June the 1st.
Is that a Friday?
That's a Friday, yes.
ending tomorrow.
For the teachers, it's June yet.
June, yeah.
Never mind, not on the agenda.
All right, thank you. Next up, item number 5, consider approval to escrow Ket's first and second offers of assistance for fiscal year 2018. Is that
Good evening.
evening?
We have received our first and second CATS offers from the FCC in the amount of $76,746. And we just have to send this form back saying that we're accepting it, and we have to be able to, when we receive the funds, for them to match us, we have to show that we've committed the same dollars. So, that is, any questions?
Are those funds in the budget?
They are in the contingency budget now. If you all approve this, it would be budgeted for the CATS offer. That's you accepting the offer and committing your funds to it. Currently, it is not budgeted, no.
Okay, thank you.
Any concerns, questions regarding this? Further concerns or questions? Seems like a motion then would be in order to approve this.
I'll make a motion to approve the, to refer the CAT's first and second officer of assistance for FY 2018.
Motion by Dr. Kudak,
Second.
second by Mr. Farrell. Any further discussion on this item?
And what's the amount? Could we put amounts in the motions?
Then
Just-
a motion to add the amount of $76,746.
746.
Most state wants to give us more, which I doubt.
Motion's been included to specify the amount. Is that okay with you, Mr. Farrell? Any further discussion on this item? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, motion passes 5-0. Item number 6, consider allowing Director of Finance and Superintendent to request proposals for investment banking.
We have, Mr. Christie and I have discussed with our excess funds that we have currently sitting in the bank, that it would be beneficial to the district with the current assets we already have, and in light of all the budget cuts that we are currently hearing about and don't have any answers on yet, using assets that we already have as a district to earn some money for the district. We currently have complete liquid funds at a 25 basis points over prime is what traditional bank, our primary depository, is giving us in interest.
Is it over prime or is it over
25 basis
over
points.
a T-bill?
It's over prime.
Okay, sorry to interrupt.
Oh, that's okay. So let me say, I've got that right here, so let me just read it and make sure that I am correct. It's 25 basis points. Doesn't say anything right there, just says 25 basis points. That's not even missing something.
I think it's some, one
I'm
of
gonna
the,
say, it doesn't say T-bill or prime, so
or Fed funds rate or something like that.
it's over the Fed funds rate.
There we go.
That's what it is. But federal funds rate, 25 basis points. Currently, that has us sitting at 1.75% interest for this past 2 months, and our floor is 1%, so we will always receive a 1% rate until this primary depository ends. So with that being said, it is the discussion that Mr. Christie and I are asking tonight to invest general fund dollars and construction dollars. And you've been given examples of
The invitations to quote, this is completely negotiable upon the board, how you all would see fit. Money amount-wise, right now tonight is just simply the request to solicit bids for investment opportunities for the district. There is in no way a commitment to accept any of those until whatever proposals we receive would be brought back to the April board meeting for you all to make a decision on how you would like to invest those funds based on what is received. So based on kind of the average of what we have sitting in general fund, we were comfortable with suggesting $3 million to invest at a 2 to 3 year fixed period of time. And I have spoken with a few different financial institutions just to get a feel of what investments are out there right now, and they said straight treasury bonds at the moment, around a $2 to $3 million is a 2 to 3% return on investment. So, I mean, there's more money out there to be had than we are currently getting with our primary depository. And then with the construction funds, we're suggesting a $20 million investment at a layered investment because we have to have those monies liquid for our pay applications as the project continues. So that would be a discussion on, we don't have a formal construction draw schedule with our construction projects. You take our investment of just based on the gymnasium project, just looking at the construction bid there, it's $21 million for just the construction part, not all the incidentals, extra, all that. And if you do that over the 22-month estimated period, it's about $970,000 that we would need a month for that project. So roughly, if we kind of set the draw schedule at $1 million a month to make sure that came available for us, but that's a discussion item that we can have tonight.
Let me see if I understand so in general, you all are looking at the rate we have right now. Basically, it's kind of like having money in a savings account.
Correct.
You can get out at any time, and recognizing that a portion of that potentially may not be needed right away. And so from a high-level standpoint, you all want to have us consider the idea of those two different pots of money, of investing them for longer time frames, and whether it's 1 year, 2 years, or 3 years, or $2 million, or $3 million. Y'all are really not hard and fast on that, but you want to get a discussion started
Right.
on the concept.
Tonight is the discussion, yes.
So on the concept, and then we could start, fine tuning, what makes sense for all together. So you all aren't hard and fast. It's got to be that this way. This is just more of a concept.
This was more of a concept of trying to throw out the starting point for discussion. It is completely up to the board as far as the amounts of money, the terms of how you even want to solicit the bid, and then what is given back to us for you to make a decision on. We just feel there is potential to make money on assets that we already own, and with budget cuts, this would be a good investment for the district and their funds that they have.
Well, I believe that doing the investments on the construction fund does make good financial sense. The investing our general fund, which I believe should be invested in students, teachers, and schools, I think it's better served that we put that back into our schools than we do invest it to try to make money. Each year we tell our taxpayers that we need money to operate our schools, and now not only are we getting money to operate schools, we got so much money that we're using to invest it to get more money. I think this needs to be put back into schools myself. But I think the construction fund makes really good sense to me. That's my 2 cents.
And it's even an option that you could take some of the construction dollars and invest them in a long-term. We moved, I think it was in December, $1 million that had been invested from a previous project that was contingency dollars basically after that project ended back into the big pot of money at Traditional Bank because it wasn't earning much. So there's a potential there to invest in a fixed time period as well.
And the money we
Construction
invest in the construction does return back eventually to general fund, correct?
Yes, basically what will happen is the interest collected on any funds invested from construction dollars, you would set up a revenue account under that project. The essentially the bulk of our money is the gymnasium project, so we would set up the revenue project under that, and basically at the end of the project, dollars left over is contingency or residuals on that project that you then use on your choice going forward on future projects.
You know, it would seem like there's probably some level of our funds that we could commit, not on an absolute basis, for a longer time frame. You know, that if we had an emergency, we'd take that out. But
Yes.
you know, a part that would be something I think you would typically think of as the last place that you would want to draw funds from. So let's just say that would be, I don't know, it would be ridiculous, $100,000. You know, I think if we only had if we got down to just being to $100,000, we'd be in quite a pickle. So if we could structure something so we could invest $100,000 for 2 years, and in a worst case scenario, if we ran into a crisis like that, that their interest rate would just simply, whatever interest we own, we could forfeit and get $100,000 back.
Correct.
And I'm thinking there's probably some very bare minimum level that we could invest in a longer time frame. It might not be $3 million, it might be overly aggressive, but something north of $100,000.
Definitely north of $100,000.
And if we wanted to start again from the low end instead of working our way up, what number do you think would be a very conservative amount to put away on a longer term basis, just to be able to pick up a little bit more interest, so we can take that interest and use it in our operating funds?
With our current balance in the general fund, are we talking general fund dollars versus construction?
I think that, so we don't get too confused, let's talk about the general fund first.
Okay. Well, on the current balance sheet, let me find it. I'll give you the cash balance in general fund. Apologize, I know it's here somewhere. Our general fund cash at the end of February was $22.4 million. So we're looking at this point in time, we have collected the bulk of our taxes. Those are collected in November, December. And so rolling forward, we need approximately, to meet payroll alone, we need a little over $2 million a month to meet payroll. So then you take into account our accounts payable, roughly, this is rough numbers, I didn't have all of this in my, lined out, so I apologize. So you need approximately, I would say with construction, well, we're still talking, I'm just talking total payables, roughly $3 million. So you roll that forward and currently, kind of do an average cash balance with, that's where the $3 million came from, that we were comfortable investing. Again, that is the board's decision if they choose to go below that. But with average cash balances, $3 million was what we considered a good investment number after looking at average cash balances to keep in our general fund. I had a spreadsheet, but I'm not finding that.
But if we wanted to be reflective of Mr. Peridot's very valid concerns, to try to start this at a much lower number and thus, leave the rest of it available to invest in items as needed.
Pick a number.
We're suggesting anything below $3 million.
Is $1 million a low point? $1 million doesn't seem like much, but if we could, actually it does seem like much, let me change that. But $1 million, if we've got a 1% differential, that's $10,000 we could bring into our budget to spend on other things.
Well, again, the general funds, until I can sit in this room and look at every principal and them tell me they don't need anything, I'm not for investing anything in general fund. When I sit and hear the recommendations from principals or the begging from principals for technology, we got safety issues coming up, we've got everything, until those needs are fulfilled, I wouldn't be for investing the first dollar, to be honest with you.
Okay. I think just from a cash flow standpoint and to take care of various layers of what if you know, kind of like your own personal bank accounts, you'd always like to keep at least a certain amount in there. Especially if we could, if you had to be able to get to it, so. I think if we got down to just having $1 million in these, let's call them 2-year funds, I think that'd be really cutting the bone. I mean, we have a long way to go to get to that. And I think if we could structure it so if we had to get to it, then that would be a wise way to go. I mean, I'm not trying to unnecessarily bind our hands on this, but if there's a number that you just simply wouldn't feel comfortable if we got below, that we could be earning a higher rate of interest, I think that would be the district. That's just my opinion. Of course, we can each have a different opinion. Ms. Peridot has perhaps a different perspective. What do you all think, the rest of the board?
The general fund dollars, are they currently in the account that is earning the 1.75%, as you noted earlier?
Yes, all of our money is currently earning 1.75%.
And what do you anticipate, given your research that you've done with the financial institutions? You mentioned the 2 to 3%. Is that whatever the amount, whatever the time frame?
Yes, if it's they said typically if it's a 2-year investment, it's right around 2%. If it's a 3-year investment, right around 3%. The percentage is kind of running with the year, so 1-year investments are a little around 1% and so on. That's just a straight treasury bond. We can have layers of investments beyond a treasury bond that would have different rates. I spoke with Ohio County Board of Education, and they are currently investing about $3 million and have been for about a 10-year period, and they are averaging a 3% return on their investment pretty much that entire time, she said. So, I mean, they never pull that out. They have $3 million and have had it invested for multiple years with a pretty consistent return on of 3%. I mean, and that obviously ebbs and flows with the markets and what they're invested in, but that's their average return on investment.
We do have to be careful comparing ourselves to other districts. I don't know their needs.
Correct. You are correct, Mr. Chairman. Let's go with our current contingency budget of a little over $13 million to peel off $3 million and invest and make more interest. Knowing that we have budget cuts coming down the line, we have CERS rate going up to the tune of almost $400,000 to increase our budget if they throw that on us all at one time. This is a way with money that we already own, basically, to get a return and have some money available on a reoccurring basis and not just the one-time pot of money that is sitting there. But definitely the needs need to be looked at and addressed as the board sees fit.
Well, to balance the various concerns, I was thinking maybe we would just start at $1 million.
And that is
That's,
fine.
again, something I would throw out there. Dr. Trudeau, any thoughts?
It's going to depend on what your return on investment is for general fund or contingency. If you go from 1.75 to 2%, you lose the liquidity of that amount of money. And we have no idea what the legislature is going to do in the next couple of weeks. We don't. And it may not be resolved then. It may take a special session to get the budget passed. So I'm not hearing a lot of positive stuff out of Frankfurt right now. So I'm not sure that those 25 basis points make be worth the non-liquidity of your funds. So it would make sense to me. We have $22.4 million in the bank. We have to pay 50% of our salaries the rest of the year off of that. Okay. And if you had something that was something really short-term, like 3 months or 6 months, and okay, I'm going to take the money that I'm going to use for paying salaries here, I'm going to invest in treasury or something extremely safe here, that would make some sense to get some return on your investment. We could kind of work the schedule out. So we know what the district's expenditures, we have an idea what the district's average expenditures are going to be. So I think that makes some sense. But I share Mr. Peridot's concern about I don't want a good big chunk of the contingency tied up in, in bonds. So What if an opportunity comes to the high school or complete, actually first complete the athletic complex?
And-
$3 million you're investing, then we can build a softball field with that, so.
You're talking about investing $3 million, if you're gonna invest, I'd rather see $3 million invested in finishing the athletic project. I personally, but it doesn't appear that we're there yet, so this was just another opportunity for something else to look at, is all it was.
I think it makes sense for the construction part of it, so. And if you could work up a schedule that says, okay, you know, we can invest, but here's our dollars, and let's get a better return on the investment for the 6 to 9 months we have to hold them until we spend it, that makes sense to me too.
Can we do this out on RFP, that's something we just talked.
Talk, I mean, I can talk.
I don't know what your yields on really short-term things are gonna be. I'm not sure it's gonna be much better than what we're getting right now, so.
I would imagine that it wouldn't be worth the investment at the short term to tie it up. But I can definitely put some fillers out there, no doubt.
Any further discussion? I'd like
So
to,
was that just for the general fund discussion? Will there be
Yeah.
additional discussion, or do we need to resolve the general fund discussion before we go to the construction discussion?
let me throw out, then to break this into two parts, that I would like to make a motion that we invest $1 million of what I'll describe as emergency funds on a longer-term basis than the current investment we have with traditional bank. And ask that we advertise for proposals as you have described here, with our attorney fine-tuning any language as may be needed. Is there a second to that proposal? Okay, so that motion dies for lack of a second then. All right, now let's talk about the other part of the proposal, which is to try to layer some of the construction money that we have.
So the balance in the construction fund is currently a little over 26 million. That is with obviously money sold for the gym bond and for the gym bond and cash that you all have put into the construction fund from general fund contingency. Like I said, if you take the current construction fund for just the construction account of what we committed for the project for just the gym is the 21.3 million on the BG. We look at it. You divide that out over a 22-month period because we've had some weather delays. I know we originally said 18 months, but that's been drawn out a little bit more. And you've seen current, we're on third pay app and it's only been about 500,000. So just to be on the safe side to make sure we do have enough money in our construction fund to pay these pay apps, I was saying set up a draw schedule based on $1 million coming available every month in the way they layer the investments over the next 22, however long the proposal is and what is submitted. But that is up for discussion on how you want to layer that draw schedule, invest it for the full. At this point, it's not 22, we're already past the 22-month. I mean, we're below the 22-month mark with since the project started, but get the gist of the conversation right.
What are we estimating, how much money we would make off this?
That is, I mean,
Can you ballpark me? Can you give me a conservative?
I mean, if it's based on, I mean, I didn't get any quotes on a layering system. All I got quotes on were the investment for an actual like term. They wanted to know a draw schedule and how long you wanted to invest. And then that's what we're doing tonight, is just a discussion to get proposals back. It's not, you're not investing anything yet. This is simply, how do you want to lay it out there to ask for proposals in a general term of, they got to have some kind of idea of how you want to invest to even give you proposals back. that's what we're trying to get tonight.
On the surface, it sounds reasonable to do something like that. I mean, obviously, there's always going to be things that we need at the end of a construction project that we may have to go back into contingency unless we still have contingency left. Whether it's, with athletic facilities, I mean, all of those athletic things cost a lot of money, trying to run a track program, a weightlifting program, whatever you might do, that it may make it, seems to me makes sense. I mean,
You're on the contingency on the construction project yourself, which is about 1.7 million, 1.7.
That we have in the contingency right
on the
now.
construction project that's in there. That's where a lot of that kind of stuff is.
Is that for the gym and the athletic fields, both?
We don't know, really have an idea until we put it out there, what kind of monies that could generate.
The only person I've spoken to is, as far as the layering construction investment money, is with Louisville, Kentucky Bank and Trust. And he was just throwing out a ballpark figure, which you just asked for. I have a note and I didn't realize I had that with me, so I apologize. He said roughly 250 to 300,000 on a 24-month period. But that again depends on, I don't know how he's saying layering, how much to come due and how much, but that was him based on seeing, we sold a bond for roughly the 20 million. So
I mean, if
That's
we
the
could
only
pick-
ballpark
if we could pick up
figure.
0.5%,
I mean,
that's somewhere around $10,000 a month. Of course, it would decrease as it goes.
Right.
That's not that this needs that. I think it would certainly be, from my perspective, worthwhile to go out and throw it out there to see what proposals we would really get.
I mean, that's the discussion tonight is, are you willing to just see what's available to us? You don't have to go with anything once you see the proposals. I mean, we can sit at the 1.75. We didn't want an opportunity for the district to pass with our current assets, with the current budget situation coming down the pipe. We thought this was an opportunity to use what we had.
I'm fine with that. I think that between this and the contingencies, you can predict this cash flow. That's long, predict the contingency cash flow. So.
Mr. Elkins, you've had a chance to take a look at what's been proposed. Are there any wording concerns you have or any problems with having multiple depositories?
Well, I don't think there's any issue with having multiple depositories. I think you can have up to 3. But one question that comes to mind for me is, and I don't know what our agreement with traditional bank was, sometimes we have an all or none agreement with somebody. For instance, we'll get 25 points if, we keep on deposit with them on our excess funds. I don't know what the agreement says. If that's an issue, then contractually, we may be obligated to traditional bank to leave it where it is.
May I interrupt?
Sure.
We are not contractually obligated.
Okay.
In the quote for primary depository, it stated that the school district had the right to invest any excess funds as they saw fit with the secondary depository.
And I didn't review it before I came in here, so I didn't know the answer to that, but that's just sort of the first layer. The second thing is I think that 66-480, a Kentucky statute that also permit this type of investing, comes into play. And I think that you can make the investments if you choose to, as suggested. But I do think that you probably have to tweak your investment policy to meet the requirements of the statute, where the policy was written in 2000 and the statute was written in 2010. So the time that the policy was formulated, in our policy, the statute it didn't exist as it does today. So you just have to have a little bit more provision, a little more written direction about how you'll invest to do it. So the answer is sure, you can do it. You just have to move some of the pieces around and get some of the language, get more structure to the policy.
I think the concept now is, do we move forward to placing an ad requesting proposals on this? Then once those come in, then we can see how that might line up with our current policy and KRS.
And I think that's really a perfect method of going forward, because if what you get back are proposals that are not worth your time, then we don't have to address the policy issues.
Does the layered time frame have to be specified? I mean, it's mentioned in the ad, but just based on a layered time frame generally, how specific does that have to be in the ad?
For working from the construction standpoint at Fayette with the layered, they want a draw schedule. So we would have to come up, and that was part of the discussion tonight on what you all want to call the construction draw schedule, since we don't have a formal draw schedule. We need to come up with a structure for them to know how to invest and quote that investment. That is what they would be looking for, is to know how much we want available liquid every month, so they know how to invest that.
It would seem like that our construction managers would be the best folks that could perhaps give us that information.
Yes, I can ask John Hagan to get us.
So do we need to make a decision on that draw schedule before we can move forward with approving an ad, so that you would know what information to send to potential respondents?
I mean, that was part of the discussion I was wishing would happen tonight, is how much do you want to invest? What type of draw schedule do you want to call that? Which, when I asked Mr. Stump how to consider that, it was take our construction money and divide it by the project scope. To come up with a rough figure, then basically $1 million a month, we want to make sure we have liquid. If those contractors show up and work that month and don't have any delays, and we could possibly reach that, so.
So if we're talking about something that might be in that order of $8,000 to $10,000 a month, that every month we wait, we just wave goodbye to that money. Let me throw this out as an idea, that they meet with the construction manager to develop a draw schedule, and we could potentially have a very brief special meeting, might be half an hour at most, and could approve that schedule, and any more particulars that we need to nail down on. Does that sound like a reasonable way to move forward on this? I think somebody who would respond needs to know what the schedule is, and I don't think we have the information right now to develop the schedule. But at the same time, we could be earning a lot. I mean, have $20 million essentially sitting in a savings account, which is an oversimplification. It's a 1.75% savings account. I think it'd be worth half an hour of my time to not put this off another 3 weeks.
We're meeting next Monday for a work session, right? Will there be any-
Is it Monday or Tuesday?
26th, next Monday.
Okay, Monday.
With it being a work session, I guess we could potentially change the characterization of that, or put on in front of it or behind it at another meeting. We could do a special meeting just for this one topic in that, and then switch over to a work session, or do it the other way around.
So what happens between now and then specifically? What are we?
I think
Looking
from my
to-
perspective, what needs to occur between now and when we would consider this next is we get a response from our construction managers as to what they think is a very conservative draw schedule on this. And then see if there's any additional tightening of the wording that might be the official motion that potentially would be made at that future meeting. That's my perspective.
So no newspaper ad would occur until after that meeting and approval?
Yeah, I think we would put all this off until we have a little bit more information on it.
Okay.
But since it is a sizable amount of money each week that we delay, I think there's a unique opportunity we have here. So what do y'all think about maybe trying to add a special meeting to next Monday?
I'm fine with that. I think it's good here.
Okay, and do the construction managers, when they come up with the information we need
Keep that one up
prior to
Monday?
then?
Sure. Actually, not next Monday, but maybe
Probably not.
more the next day, so that we can have a chance to cogitate on it. Okay. That's like a good game plan then? You don't want to have it before or after the 6:30 meeting?
I'm working on it.
After?
What it needs is you'll be wanting that revenue somehow.
All right. Well, we'll make a note of that then.
Special meeting before or after?
Have to. Does that sound like a good game plan, everybody? Okay,
So the special meeting is after the work session.
yes. We'll come up with time between, we'll come up with a time.
Not 10 o'clock.
Agreed.
All right, so for this particular item that's on our agenda, it's a two-part item. Is there any further discussion that you all would like to have on this item, or shall we move on to the next item on the agenda? Or actually, probably, if there's no further discussion, we might take a brief 5-minute break. All right, any further discussion on this item then? If you don't mind, then let's take a brief 5-minute break at 7:36 PM, and we'll be back at approximately 7:41 PM.
Thank you.
page on this correctly. Next item on the agenda, consider approval of revised policy 09.123. Mr. Holly.
This is designed to bring the language and the administrative procedure from 9.123, the administrative procedure side of that, consistent with the policy 09.123, and that's what we have over here.
I'm guessing y'all reached out to KSBA and asked them for some wording suggestions, or did you all do your own wording suggestions?
I took a look at a few of the surrounding counties who, after we had put ours into place through the procedures, they had put theirs in place, and KSBA had worked with them as well on the policy side, but we hadn't been notified that they had done that on the policy side. So yes, we had worked with KSBA on the wording, and that is what they had suggested as well.
The wording is not consistent from page 1 to page 2 when it talks about healthcare provider.
We can add that to where it has in parentheses as well.
Yours up.
Is your intention that you need one of these forms filled out every time a kid is sick?
No, that's incorrect. What we have done is anytime a child, this is after the 12th doctor's notes, if it's, for example, I'll use an example, if the child, say, has mono,
Right.
child misses for a week, tries to come back, we often know with mono that may result in a setback. Those that would be of the same illness, they would not have to have that medical form filled out. However, once they get to that 12th doctor, if they had a dentist appointment or something like that, they would. Now, if they had an orthodontist appointment, it was going to be reoccurring, once again, much like the mono case, they would just let them, the dentist would just let them know that that's of the same nature, and so they would only have one form to fill out now. And also say surrounding counties, other counties don't operate that way, and they do operate on every absence after 12. We did careful consideration. It's not something that we wanted to be obtrusive to the parents, and so we felt like if it was of the same nature, we wanted to be as workable as we could.
He knows I'm not a fan. Just because, like with my child, he got pneumonia, he was out 12 days. Now, if he gets a stomach bug, I go in with my little form and have to have it filled out. If he gets a cold, I take my little form in and have to have it filled out. I don't think it's helping it's not hurting the ones that we were trying to stop it. It's not, they don't care, they still don't care.
Let me give you an example. This was not an intended consequence of this, adopting this policy. This has been a pleasant surprise. We have been able to put more students who are needing it, not because doctors were filling the forms out in certain ways because of it was as of ease. We've actually been able to put some physical ailments that families did not know they had the option with home hospital. Because on the administrative procedure it mentions it, so when they get that, they see that that's something that's an option. That has actually increased, and we've been able to provide educational services for those students. That was not something that we envisioned when we put the policy in place, and that's been helpful. Something else that's come as a result. There's a lot of students on medications that the parents never notified the school of. A lot of students who are battling illness that parents never notified the schools. But they felt that, why would I need to notify them, because it's probably not going to be relative to what goes on in the course of the school day. However, if we didn't have the form, we have had numerous times where that if we didn't have the form, it would have just been the doctor's excuse, and we would not have known about the illness, and we would not have known about the medications that were being adjusted. Through medication adjustments, behaviors change sometimes. In years past, that would have just been, why is Johnny acting out like this? What's going on? This has given administrators, nurses, frisk folks the ability to kind of see that this type of stuff is going on because the form has asked for that information. They filled it out, brought it back in, and we've been able to work with those families to try to adjust. And some of the administrators have been much more lenient on some of those behaviors, knowing that medications were being adjusted otherwise that they wouldn't have. So I will say that the positives, I didn't even expect that would be there. Tremendous.
I understand that.
Are you talking about the benefits of 09123 AP2?
Yes.
Okay. Well, what we're talking about today is the policy.
Yes.
I just want to make sure that.
Correct. So we're just bringing the language with this to where it's consistent to what the administrative procedure is.
From my standpoint as a physician, something needs to be triggered if a kid has more than 12 absences or X number of absences in the school year.
I'm fine with that too, but when my child takes all 12 of his at once, and then now every time he gets sick, I have to run back unless, like Mr. Holland and I talked about, it relates to the very first thing that he filled the paper out for.
Right.
I mean, I shouldn't have to run my child to the doctor every time. I use my 12 absences before I ever use my parent note.
I'll say this too, just as a reminder, this is what triggered this initially. People look at the negative side and they want to focus in on those who doctor shop or they steal.
I'm sorry,
or they
those
steal.
who doctor shop.
Doctor shop.
Oh, doctor
Yes.
shop.
Those who have stolen a doctor's pad. All of these things have taken place.
Or they're just in a clinic where they see different providers.
Yes,
You know,
absolutely.
2 absences here, 3 absences here, and alarm bells never go off if
Yes. Yep.
somebody's not in school.
12 doctor's notes, 6 parent notes. That's where we were coming to it to say, that's 3.5 weeks of school. That's almost a month of school, and that's a lot. Now, this is a hard year to put that into implementation because the flu has been unlike anything that most of us have ever seen. So it's been something that on most other years, I don't think, feel certain that I can say this is not something that would be the norm. But we've implemented it in a year where there's been so many absences due to flu-related illnesses and multiple times of getting the flu and so forth, so.
Right. I mean, but the only reason I am so far against this is I hear from other parents that are going through the same thing that I am. It did not help the parents that, I take my child to the doctor. I do what I need to do. But every time I have to take that form in, I'm taking more of that doctor's time. She sits down and fills it out. I've also heard that some doctors are now charging to fill the form out.
I've asked that. Not a single name has been provided to me, but I also will say that if that name is provided and we call and we confirm that a doctor's going to charge a family, we'll put that into Infinite Campus and that will not be held against the parents. And if a doctor's office just flat refuses, we are also.
Which I've heard has happened.
Once again, I've asked, I did call on one occasion, explain the situation, and the doctor's office changed their policy. But, for example, if that were to happen, I already have provisions in place that's not going to be held against the family. We're going to put that in Infinite Campus and say, confirmed, they will not fill the medical form out. It's not going to be something that we're going to hold against the family.
Okay, but then what, with I'm taking, my doctor will fill it out, so I'm having to run it in there to her. She's taking her time to do it. But because this doctor says, nope, not doing it, they don't have to do it. That's my point, is it's not, we still have people.
We're
doctor
consistently
shopping.
inconsistent.
Yeah.
I can't make someone do something. All I can do is when we put it into policy, I can't make another entity do something that we say. So if we put it in as policy, we can hold it against the family, and if we want to do that, we can do that. What I'm trying to do is do the best that we possibly can.
But it shouldn't be held against the family. I agree with you on that. If the doctor won't fill it out, it shouldn't be held against them. But there's revision, okay, so the doctor won't fill it out, so, well, we'll just make a note of that and remember that. You know, then everybody's gonna go to that one doctor because they're not gonna fill it out, and I ain't gotta worry about it. All it takes is for that to get out there.
As I said, I'm
And do
trying-
these families have to have an unpleasant experience before something positive can happen?
I didn't understand your question, I'm sorry. Say it again.
Okay, the email that I guess all board members received, you know, this family obviously had been trying to do all the right things and had a really unpleasant experience with the form. So, you know, what can we do within this policy? But you can't prevent all unpleasant experiences, I guess.
Correct.
But, I mean, I don't know with what Ashley's saying, you know, you go to the right doctor or not the right doctor, but you get what you want. But for people who are trying to play by the rules, do the right things for their kids, be supportive of the school system to the extent that they can be supportive, and then they sort of get the runaround through no fault or action of their own. It seems like we're still just being,
The ones that are
Consistently
trying
inconsistent.
are the ones that are getting hurt right now with it.
I don't know that I would agree with that. I would say there are ones that maybe feel that way, but we can't discount the improvement that it would have on the others in that design.
But has it made a huge difference in your attendance?
Well, this is an anomaly of a year. As I say, we could measure it next year if the flu is not the same case. Our attendance is going to be unlike anything that we've seen simply because of this being such a strange year with sickness, so.
Now, I think that because we have this procedure, AP2, I think we need to have a policy that directs people to that. Otherwise, I'm not really sure that we can use this procedure, because unless I'm missing the wording, it's not there. The way you crafted this change, it says for each additional absence. That seems like a pretty high bar. I spoke to KSBA. I said, give me some other districts that have wording like this. They pointed me to Campbell County and Walton Verona. Their wording is much more straightforward. It doesn't go through these particular hoops. For example, Campbell County says illness of the principal. After the 10th physician's note, the parent or guardian must have a medical excuse form completed by healthcare providers. Students with a chronic critical condition as determined by a qualified healthcare professional shall be addressed on an individual basis. Now, I'm not saying that's exactly what our wording should be, but I'm getting the impression that we might want to tweak this wording a little bit more. That's the impression from my perspective. Am I picking that up from you all also?
Yes. I
Okay.
hope-
Let me ask a question, Mr. Holland. Has it been easier to identify truants with this policy in place?
Yes.
Because it's an issue, the truants oftentimes have doctor's excuses, lots and lots and lots of them.
Yes.
So sometimes it's 15 or 20 in my office before I figure out, all right, this person's just coming in for school excuses and he's not sick.
Absolutely. And something else that's not been mentioned too is, just keep in mind that chronic absenteeism is a new term, something that has newly been brought out by the state and going to be measured. That's something that's going to be an accountability piece to the schools as well. That's going to be 10% of our school year at 176 days. That would be 18 school days missed. Chronic absenteeism is not habitual truancy, and it's not unexcused absences. That's excused plus unexcused absences that just total 18 or more. So where we get our 18 also comes from the 12. And note Fayette County, as well as the one that Mr. Heisel mentioned, was at 10. We also designed 12 to try to be a little bit more lenient towards what our average absences have been. But that hits the number for our chronic absenteeism as well. So.
I understand that, but when they have to take all 12 at one time, and like, say, school starts in August, September, they're taking their 12 days because something, something, you said you'd put them on homebound. Okay, like with Cash, pneumonia, and it took him out, or even with yourself, you've been taken out twice with it.
At the end of the day, if you want to take the policy out, I will tell you, you have made my life infinitely easier, and I'll say, okay. But that's not, to me, that's not.
I'm not saying take it out, I'm saying we need to work
try
on it.
To do something to try to make a desired effect.
As it exists right now, does the policy specify a number of days? Or am I biased?
Policy itself does not, which is why that we're bringing this to you.
Okay. So the policy that sends people to AP2 doesn't exist right now?
The policy is what we're bringing to make the language with the administrative procedure consistent in the policy as it reads in the administrative procedure.
Okay.
So with that being said, if the policy didn't match up, all these people that have been given the letter,
I spoke with Mr. Elkins. We had a conversation, if that's all right, if I can share. I said, okay, let me ask you, if this in one and not in the other, is it in direct violation? And
I just think it's a notice issue. You know, we're required to make sure that the public, that the parents and students are aware of our policies and procedures. You could be aware of the policy, but it doesn't point you to the procedure. On the other hand, if you're looking at the procedure form, it says to be used after 12 absences, but the policy makes no mention of that. So to fix the disconnect, I think there needs to be some sort of amendment. And I think it's just as simple as putting the students and the parents on notice that after 12 absences, you have to have the form and the procedure.
But that's not my question.
What was your question? He was the one asking. He asked the
If the people that have received this letter before this has been brought to us, there was no policy for it. So if it goes to court,
No, and I'll tell you this.
Well, that's how it got to our attention.
And I'll tell you this. I have since yesterday, I sat down before we corrected this and had a conversation with one of the family court judges who would be making the ruling on this. And we had a shared opinion on, from a court perspective and that type of thing. We've had a discussion yesterday, we had a meeting after court and kind of had a discussion. It's not something that we're looking to necessarily make it as a court issue per se. No one, to my knowledge, I can speak for elementaries because I filed specifically on those elementary schools. None of the elementaries have been filed on. I've also contacted, I'm not aware of anybody in the district who has actually been taken to court as a result of them matching the needed required unexcused absences for truancy, thus getting them into court. So nobody has actually been taken to court as a result of it. Now, it could lead to the school decided that they had an SBDN policy for no homework being made up and that sort of thing for unexcused absences, that type of thing. It could lead to the school action being taken. But as of right now, and I do not support, after the conversation yesterday, that if when they raise a particular point, I see whether no one has, and I don't anticipate any issue being taken to court per se because of that, because it wouldn't meet the constitution of educational neglect, because if you're trying to determine the doctor's note, but you'll have the medical form. I don't know if that's educational neglect. Would it be truancy per se? I don't know that that would match up with that definition as well. So we discussed that and we both agreed where we were looking at it before. Probably from a legal standpoint, that's not where we want to go with it.
Let me add this to, which I think will fit the, will help answer what you're looking for. And that is, if you just take hypothetically, we've sent out a form letter that says, you could.
I get my letter, I'm going to court, I hire you as my attorney.
Yep.
Ms. Ritchie, you're legally enjoined from suing this board.
You don't have to.
We're in hypothetical situations.
Well, not hypothetical.
And I'm not suing the board would be taking me to court.
So what happens is, the first thing that you do is you acknowledge that you were aware or on notice of the policy and procedure.
Yes.
Well, it's not policy or procedure, it's policy and procedure, and the procedure says that this form is to be used after 12 absences. No question about that. Then the only question we have to answer is, did you use the form? But we could give the parent a second opportunity to become aware if we also included it in our policy. Because the answer, I think, is going to be no, I didn't use the form. Your defense is going to be because it didn't say that in the policy.
Oh, no, I've used my form every time.
Well, I'm saying that in the hypothetical.
We're
You're
not
gonna say no because the
hypothetical.
policy didn't say that, but the procedure did, and you've acknowledged that you received both. So, I think that in a hypothetical situation where a parent is saying, well, I didn't know, I don't think you can say that because you've acknowledged that you got the policy and procedure. And it says it in the procedure, it just doesn't say so in the policy.
And I don't like what you said. This has not led to anything punitive. This is actually nothing from a punitive standpoint. I get where you're coming from. The punitive standpoint, we've talked about that about 6.5 hours. But from the standpoint outside of that, from where it could go above and beyond that has not taken place. I will say the benefits that have come as a result. And I wish that I could sit here and say that's what we intended it to be, and it wasn't. That's just that's unintended positive consequences, very much so. So,
From my perspective, I think the policy doesn't specify it. I think it's not required. I think the policy trumps the procedure. So if we want to direct people to do this, I think we need to include it in the policy. That's my opinion.
Correct.
Then the question, that would certainly clarify everything. Then we'd have to decide what is the appropriate wording to be in the policy.
there needs to be some sort of mechanism to, after a certain number of certain number of excuse absences, somebody looks to see what's going on. Is there a chronic illness? Is there a good explanation for this? Fine. But, if there isn't, if it's 4 days for a cold, and another 5 days for a stomach virus, that's excessive. Yes. I've had to deal with that many years when I was in practice here, so.
And that was the original intent.
Right. And some of it is to alert me there is a problem here with this child missing too much school.
Can I follow up what you said? I spoke to colleagues in Winchester. We had a meeting, and I didn't, once again, unexpected consequence coming from that meeting. I asked the doctors. I expected they would say, absolutely, before we go in, and I don't want to speak on behalf of how you do it, Dr. Hudak, or anything like that, but when I said that, I expected them to say, I go through and I look and this sort of thing, and I don't know how many absences that they had missed. And I said, okay, do you know how many doctor's notes that you have written for the student this year? And almost a unanimous answer was, no, I don't have any idea. And I thought, okay, so this right here, if we're putting 12, that's going to alert the physician when they're seeing them that this child has missed this many and been seen by a physician. So that was an intended consequence as well there.
Plus, if I'm the treating physician and I've got a kid missing 12, 15, 18 days, maybe there's some chronic illness I am not picking up on. I need to pay a little bit more attention to what I'm doing.
I want to ask you a question if I could. The policy says for each additional absence. So there's a couple of concepts here. Number one is after X number of absences, we need to get this form filled out. That's half of the question. Then a related question is, does the form have to be filled out for visit 13, 14, 15?
If it doesn't
16?
relate to your other apps, your 12 days, yes.
Is that what our intention is, to then try to break it into the two components? First component is, after so many days, you have to get a form filled out. And the second component is, do you have to get a repeat one for every single day after that? I mean, so you go from 0 to 10, or 0 to 12, nothing, and all of a sudden 12, you've got to get this form filled out.
I think when I spoke to KSBA, one of the reasons we had left it as this language here was because it was going to be our interpretation of it, which was to do it in the manner in which I had stated. But we didn't want to make it loose to where we ran into an issue with someone finding an escape clause, if you will, because our wording was too loose. It's always easier, in my experience on things, to go looser on things with it being tight as opposed to trying to tighten something up with the wording being looser. So, and I know we're dealing with policies and procedures, but that was the discussion that was taking place. So when we were looking, we were just trying to make sure we didn't put ourselves in a bind with loose wording.
What do you all think? Do you all want to make our parents go back to the doctor every single time after 12, on 13, 14, 15, get this form filled out?
No, but I'm on probation to be taken to court, which I can be. And so because of that reason,
I haven't yet.
I know you, I'm not talking about that. But I mean, I can be taken to court just because I'm sitting on the board.
But Mr. Holland, has this changed the number of cases that you take to court and you prosecute if you're aware of some sort of chronic illness? Or
Absolutely.
something that's going on in the family, so that affect who you?
Yeah, and I'll speak to that. I had that happen yesterday. There were two children that the woman had hired an attorney. She had quit, as a matter of fact, I don't want to be too specific, she had quit her schooling because we were taking her to court with this, because she did not want to be deemed as a negligent parent. And as a result of turning the doctor's, this medical form into me, I realized that that her older child had seizures. There was also something that had taken place in the children's life the year before, and she had two children. It was making them 3, 4, 5 minutes late, which had racked up number of tardies as well as sometimes needing absences, and that did affect. That medical form caused me to go into court, and I looked at the county attorney and asked, please move to dismiss, because I do not want any part of this. The county attorney moved to dismiss. That woman was able to reapply for her schooling, and she's actually back enrolled here. That came all as a result of that.
So if we're not requiring one for each absence after 12, what does the wording become?
I would suggest that, since there's several other different wording types that are out there in other districts, again, this is my perspective, that you all reach out to those other districts that have different wording and say, how's this working out for you? Like Campbell's, I mean, this is just wording from last year. It's not like it's been sitting around for 10 years.
They might
have some-
I'll answer that question. I have. I've reached out to 5 or 6 districts, and because they have worded it in certain ways, and I'll tell you this too, that they're not sending a letter, a notification letter. Very few districts are doing that. We try to do that to at least give folks a heads up. They're not sending the form home ahead of time, so that it's just one of those things, you're supposed to know it. Those types of things are really creating some barriers for them that we actually have not had to deal with on a great number of bases.
Circle back around to part 2. Do we want parents to have to go with every single doctor's visit after 12? They have to go back and get the form filled out on 13, 14, 15?
And if I can just say one more thing, I know you're wanting to put the language right. I'm going to tell you, I'm not going to do that in terms of, I mean, that's not the intent. So if we can get the language to match what the spirit of that is, I'm all for it. I just don't want it to be something where.
Okay, so you're saying, even though the policy says point blank for each additional absence, that's not what you intend?
No, the intent is what I had explained. We're not to burden the parents. It's for each additional one that is not related to an absence before. If we can get wording that is consistent with the spirit of that, I'm all for it. I just don't want to create something in policy that is more convoluted than, and it drags on and on and on. That's where I believe that policy hinders you and hampers you, when we get so convoluted that you have to read the 6th line and then go back to the 2nd line to get the spirit. That's what I was trying to avoid.
So if a student has had his or her 6 parental notes and 12 doctor notes, then what?
At that point in time, if they have another absence, they would, at that point in time, they would have to go back to the doctor to get a doctor's excuse for that, and that would require a medical form. Now, that's
Okay.
on the 13th one.
Okay.
If absence 14, 15, and 16 are applicable to absence 13 and along the same lines, only one form would need to be turned in. However, if they miss absence 13 and 14, and then their 15th and maybe 16th absence is unrelated to that event, it's a dentist appointment, an orthodontic appointment, that would then require a form. So if we can get language that kind of spells that out, perfect. But I think if you see where I'm trying to say, I don't want it to be the sort of thing where this becomes 6 pages because a parent is having to go back and say, I need to go to this bullet and then relate it back to that. That's what I was trying to avoid by kind of spelling it in this manner.
But let me throw this in there. I hadn't even used any doctor's notes. So when I.
Parent notes.
Parent notes, yes, I'm sorry. So then whenever Cash got strapped behind that, he had to go to the doctor. I had to get I did get a doctor's note because I took him anyway. I had to have my form filled out. And I hadn't used my parent note. However, I could have came back and just wrote a parent note.
You could have.
And it would have been excused.
Which I think we laughed about.
Yeah.
A little bit.
So. You can say it.
Yeah, that's the thing, but and what Ms. Hoffman had said, that's the thing with the medical form that does too, is it makes mention of the fact that if you're out for a period of time, please think about the need for home hospital and that sort of thing. So, and that's been used on several occasions. The parents have admitted and acknowledged when they turned it in. We didn't even know this existed until the form kind of alerted us. We called you to say, what is this? And I explained it to them, and they said, yes, we need to be on that. Doctors agreed, and we put them on, so they'll be that.
Yeah. I have a kid that's been diagnosed with cancer at the high school, and his mother was receiving notes, and she got kind of upset. I talked to her, I did not know that he's getting ready to go through cancer treatment. So at that time, I explained to her, I said, listen, if he's getting ready to go through chemo, what I need to make first is that we need to make sure that he's getting what he can, and that health-wise, he's able to come if he can. She's concerned he's going to fall behind in school. So I said, listen, go out and talk to Greg. If he gets put on home hospital, he may be able to come and do 2 hours a day for his academic classes and then go home. And she said, well, I just got upset because I got a letter. And I said, honey, I'm sorry that you got it. Now that I know about it, I will make note of it. and you won't get one, but I just need that doctor's statement saying he's under the treatment for cancer, and then those will be taken care of. And I gave her the fax number at the high school, and she sent it in that day.
And as a reminder, we had talked about this when we adopted the administrative procedure. Those kids, and that's spelled out on that form, those kids, cystic fibrosis, MS, cancer, any types of.
Digestive issues, lots of stomach.
Any types of
problems,
things that, we have students that are going through horrific things that we oftentimes don't think about. Those are the students that are excluded, because the majority of those times we already have that in their CUNY folder or whatnot. So it's not those students, we were conscious of not having to include those students in with us. But sometimes it does alert us to that's going on with
Some
them.
issues that we didn't know about, seizures and things like that.
Anytime you make a rule for 5,000 people, people are going to get caught in it. And unfortunately, you have people that have good intentions, to send their kids to school, and then they get something that says, that defines what truancy is, and that's offensive to them. The other thing that I say in a situation, and we talk so much in this day of safety about adults making connections with kids, and we've got somebody that's going through a serious illness, and a teacher had them went to an administrator and said, this guy's missing a lot of days because of this. I mean, that's a connection thing. And that has to be picked up somewhere in a classroom somewhere before that parent gets umpteen number of notes. Some teacher somewhere has got to communicate with somebody and say, you guys understand that this person is missing this many days because of this. And that's kind of sad that didn't happen.
On a somewhat related note, in this policy, if we reword anything, have you all looked at the makeup work section? Is this section somewhat inconsistent with what's actually going on in the schools? And if so, how do we fix it? I mean, based on what principals have told me, this is not being followed. So maybe it's their site-based council rule, but when site-based council rules are inconsistent with board policy, okay, what trumps what?
Chicken first, the chicken of the year. I'm not making light of it, I'm agreeing with you 100%. And that I'm surprised we don't see that more often, especially with the inductions of SBDMs however many years ago. That was a natural butting of heads in some ways. And,
But this is not being followed in many cases, and it's being followed inconsistently. Some kids get to make up work, some kids don't. It shouldn't, I don't know, I think that really sets folks up for it.
I'm all for bringing the policy back once we make come to some sort of an agreement or pass whatever to saying, hey, let's put this on the radar for when we bring our policies and procedures back into place. I'll pull this one out. We can have a work session or whatever we need to do to kind of say, hey, this is what we're seeing. Bring this back with that specifically in mind.
I'd be fine if you added, Scott just put this out to me, I think it's in the Campbell County's policy, if you added something about the highlighted areas, if you said future disruption of the school year to be excused unless there is some sort of chronic illness. Let's see, Campbell County's says students with chronic/critical conditions treated by qualified healthcare professional shall be addressed on an individual basis. Something like that would kind of give us an out for someone who's
I'm fine, and if you want to
got
adopt
cancer or significant asthma or COPD or something, so.
Is that the wording that's our?
That way the parent is not having to come and write for notes, every time this child is hospitalized or this is.
Get the one note to be done.
Right.
Take care of it.
So Mr. Holland, this child has CF, he's got a standing appointment at UK Pulmonary once a month. He has to go to the hospital these days. He may have other days where he's out with the time. So.
Sure.
Mrs. Hicks, do you feel like the makeup work wording right now is in need of further tweaking?
Well, unless we decide that it's not important for people to follow policy.
And if you want to open that
And,
can of worms, I've never understood why we don't allow work to be done while kids are on suspension, because some of these kids need to be current in class, and we tell them for 10 days you can't do your work. I understand why that's been done, but they just fall that much further behind. So, and I think we have disdain for their academic standard when we do that. So,
And I agree with that somewhat, and I don't think you should ever stop a kid from learning, that we should always do that. But I do also, and I used to explain to parents all the time, when kids would get really good academic kids would get caught in a situation that they were suspended for, that it will hurt your grade, and that's the same way in life. If you get caught drinking at school, when you get kicked out of school, if you get caught drinking and you're out driving, you may kill somebody, there's consequences to that. So in other words, you can do your work, we're not going to count it, and you were a 4.0 and now you're a 3.8. That's the consequence of what your behavior was. But I agree about making up work. I don't think we should ever stop anybody from learning.
What I'm wondering is what the sense of the board is whether we need to, whether we want to try to move on this right now or send this back and have them review some additional wording, perhaps alternates for us to look at a future meeting.
I would be okay with that.
I'm fine with
Or if we could get the policies from the schools that the site-based councils are actually using.
It's on the makeup work
Yes.
issue. Do we have a general consensus then that we'd like for you all to take a look at the wording some more on both aspects, on the medical aspect and also on the makeup work, perhaps either come up with several alternates or
Okay, by doing that, would we say that this is something that we would like to have in place, given the time of the year that we're in, the things that are coming up towards the end of the year, testing and so forth? Is this something that we want to bring back next month, or is this something that we want to have in place by the time that we take a look at the first reading of policies and procedures, which usually takes place in June? What's your thoughts?
I'm not the board attorney here, but I think we need to do something on this policy because I think we're enforcing a procedure that's not required by policy. But that's, I suppose, only a judge could truly come up with that. So if it's possible, again, from just my one perspective out of 5, to try to take another whack at this sooner than later. That, again, just my perspective. Y'all?
I agree. think
I
this needs
agree
to be
with-
addressed.
Mr. Howard.
All right.
For school.
Yeah, next regular meeting. So I think the general consensus is you all would then take a look at some other alternate wording and then put it on Campbell, Walton Brown. There might be others, Dr. Kim Barker, and then we'll put it on for the next regular meeting.
In the meantime, do you go to jail or what?
Yeah, well, I'm on the board, I can't.
I'll bring you pizza if we have any left over.
That was commissary money, didn't
Mr. Holland, in preparation for that, for next month's meeting, could you write down a quick summary? We kind of discussed a lot of the positives and negatives of this. I think having that on a sheet of paper would be beneficial to our debate.
Okay.
So, inconvenience parents on the negative side, identifying truths on the positive side.
Okay.
Ms. Nance can help us with the recording here, I'm sure.
I think it was a useful discussion.
Yeah, this touches on a lot of different things, so.
All right, if there's nothing further on item 7, then let's move on to item number 8. Consider approval of pay application number 14-15 to Ross Architects. The amount of $9,067.84. Mr. Stumpf.
Request for payment for your architects on the GRC Gymnasium and Athletic Fields project. I would just note that, as the architect shared with you at the last board meeting, that number is pretty consistent when you're considering your drawdown schedule from the previous agenda item. That would be pretty much the amount that we're going to request of you throughout the duration of the project until the end of the project. So requesting payment to your architects.
Any questions, discussion? Okay. If there's not, then a motion would be in order regarding item number 8.
Move to approve as written.
And just to clarify, to include the amount of $9,067.84.
Everything's there, yes.
Okay. All right, we have a motion by Mr. Peridot,
Second.
second by Ms. Ritchie. Any further discussion on this? All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes 5-0. Item number 9, consider approval of pay application number 10 for performance services for the Guaranteed Energy Conservation Savings Project BG 17-178 in the amount of $99,151.30. Mr. Stump.
Request is of the board to release that amount from retainage for the overall project, the energy savings project. This is specifically related to a retainage release, which is now permitted by KDE up to 50% of the project. And you can, when that's completed, you can release up to 50% of retainage. The project's estimated at about 69%, so the contractor is requesting roughly 30% of release of retainage, which is this amount.
So I want to make sure I understand this correct, because I pulled out last month's. So what we have is a 10% retainage on the lighting upgrades and the water conservation.
It's a 10% retainage on the entire project.
Well, I was just looking at the line items, $856,134. The amount that you all are, or not you all, that is being requested, $99,151.30. So if you go back to the January 31 pay request, sitting over in the retainage balance is $85,696, which is 10% of the contract, 10% of the contract amount, and then $13,455.30, which is 10% of the water conservation contract. So that's the retainage on those two portions, just those two things. It's the 10% retainage on those two items. And those two items are listed as 100% done, lighting upgrades and water conservation.
I think that's accurate, but it's a reflection of about 30% reduction of the entire retainage of the whole project of the $335,444.20. That's roughly 30% of that total.
But the point I was just trying to make sure I understood correctly is all the other retainages that are listed on this page.
On the schedule values.
They're all the other ones are still staying in place. This is just releasing the retainage on these.
I think that's exactly what's reflected on the schedule values. And the only point I was making, that they can't exceed 50% of the project once they get 50% done, and that's below that amount that you're requesting with regard to the total retainage of the project.
So what is the total retainage on the project?
It was 335, 444, 20.
Okay.
It was 434, and this will take it to 335.
That's correct.
Yes, okay,
That's correct.
okay, thank you.
Discussion, questions? If not, then a motion will be in order to approve payment in the amount of $99,151.30 to PSI for the item that's listed on our agenda.
I'll make that motion as written.
Motion by Mr. Peridot. And I'll second it. Any further discussion? Okay. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? That motion passes 5-0. Item number 10, consider approval to enter into an annual contractual agreement with Fiber Media for the provision of public relations work not to exceed $3,000. Donald Stump.
As was requested last month of the superintendent, was to pursue with Piper Media some possible pricing with regard to PR services for some particular items, more specifically addressing the two-page document, Wachee Clark County document that was discussed in that meeting, in addition to a fee and brochure creation of social media slider monitoring, I've attached those quotes in your packet, and would ask the board to consider or give us directions as to how to proceed with these quotes.
Was there a quote from Smoke Signals?
No, no, the things that they're looking at proposing here is not something that Smoke Signals is probably going to be.
Okay, because there was a reference to it, but then I didn't find
We
anything.
talked about them doing some of this, but with the bid that they're getting here, the wire put on the station, or on the social media stuff, they're not capable.
And the quote specific to that interest was $100 per month from this company.
Okay.
So just to delineate what's up there, if you could scroll down to the dollars amount on them. So brochure $1,000, ad creation $500, and social media spider services for $100 a month. So if we did that for 12 months, that'd be $2,700. And potentially we could throw in another 3 hours of consulting in case something came up, and let them get a start at this and see what they could do for $3,000.
Okay, for the brochure, are we updating our current, I mean, the more time goes on, more of it becomes
I think
outdated?
they would take what we've produced at this point, and it would have to be updated and changed, and maybe, and they may need to be modified. Some of the information on that paper.
Because it's, yes.
It would need to be modified. But that would be a starting point.
And we would still be responsible for doing any copies for distribution?
That would be my understanding.
Yeah, I think for that, they would just do the layout of it.
Okay, so if are we looking at a total budget just for Piper or for production of product as well?
Just for pipe,
$4,700 just for a pipe.
and we would have to print it.
Okay, so we would have it printed in-house, or, I mean, do we have the capability to prevent a quality document in-house?
I would have to see what they come up with as far as what kind of paper you'd want it on, probably not the quality that we're going to put out. I think that like the magazine form that they showed us, no, we would not have that capability in-house.
So I think realistically, once they create that, then we'll have another fork in the road as to.
Where do we go from
We
here?
just simply want to produce some that we can hand out here internally, or do we want to take it to another step? I'm guessing we could probably do some stuff on our own.
Yeah, in the meantime, we can look at that quality of paper. I mean, we could purchase that quality of paper and do the printing, yes.
Okay.
So, I guess, yes, we would have the capabilities.
I did it for me, we printed it.
Yeah.
Madison County has a really neat little
Yeah.
thing, and Minute Man Press does it.
Right, okay.
I think it's practical. Our machines would do the quantity. I think we're considering, we've done that with our handbooks and things
And
like
the
that.
quality of paper.
I think it's really practical.
We can
so
do
we
it.
can-
So, I'm in favor of it. I think we need to get started down this path. And it's not an extreme amount of money. Hopefully we can make it up an interest rate differential in the next week.
I was surprised at the price. I thought it was very attractive.
Then I move that we enter into an annual contractual agreement with Piper Media for the provision of public relations work not to exceed $3,000.
May I call for a friendly amendment to that?
Sure.
Public relations and marketing.
Okay, marketing was not on the item 10 agenda item.
All right.
I don't-
I'll that.
I don't mind adding,
I don't want to get in conflict with what's already
Okay.
on there. So
Okay.
I'd be happy because we won't want to split hairs on it.
okay.
I apologize for interrupting. Were you able to get all that down, Mrs. Mann?
I've got it, I need a second.
Okay, she's there. As usual. All right, I'd like to second that. Any further discussion about the motion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, that motion passes 5-0. Thank you, Mr. Stump, for working on that. What's on the next page? You want to do this one? Is it off the big one?
It's going to get a lot bigger.
Good, it means we're making progress. Item number 11, consider approval of pay application number 3 to Codell Construction Contractors and Suppliers for the George Rogers Clark High School Gymnasium and Athletic Fields Project, BG 16-238, and the total amount of $579,385.13. Mr. Stump.
I've attached a project summary to the transmittal. If you have any questions regarding where the project is at this point, your construction manager is here, but that's fairly current. And the only other thing I would bring to your attention is that amount will significantly increase once your project starts progressing. Could easily double in future months in anticipation of the consideration for your drawdown schedule from a previous board item. So asking for that amount to be paid to Codell and contractors and suppliers. And that amount.
Okay, so just to clarify, in our packet is a 66-page detailed listing of what makes up this number. Okay.
Yes, schedule values.
Do you all have questions, concerns? Mr. Codell's here. Mr. Codell, can you add to stop snowing, because it's getting really...
I think it's snowing out there right now, I believe.
It's calling for snow now.
Okay. It is the first day of spring. Y'all good then? All right. There's no further questions, and motion will be in order on item number 11.
I'll make that motion.
Okay? To reflect essentially what's on
As
the
written.
agenda.
Yep.
All right. Motion by Ms. Peridot. Is there a second?
Richie.
Miss Parado, Mr. Ritchie.
I did used to be Miss Peridot, though. You're right.
I apologize for that.
But
Let's make that. Miss Ritchie, just to put a little dash down here, the P becomes an R. And was there a second on that?
Mr. Perry.
All right, to clarify.
Dr. Ritchie a couple months ago.
Dr. Ritchie, Ms. Paradise.
There we go. So that would be a motion by Ms. Ashley Ritchie and by Mr. Gordon Peridot. Is there any further discussion on this? All righty. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion passes 5-0. Item number, y'all good? We need to take a break, or can we forge ahead?
Forge.
Forge we shall. Item number 12, consider approval of Bates Security bid package to address physical and electronic security upgrades. Mr. Stump.
Last board meeting, general board meeting, the board directed us to formally submit a request for proposal and advertise for bids for the project that was presented to the board last month related to safety items. We did that. We were asked to bring those bids back to you this board meeting. What we did do, in addition to what the board directed us to advertise last meeting, was to add a couple of items just for the sake of consideration of the board, and that was the quote that you're seeing in your packet related to the preschool vestibule and the Baker storefront. We brought some pictures of the Baker storefront that we bidded as an alternate, just for the board's consideration. And I would note that we had one bid that came in, and essentially what Bates did was contact the contractors that provided the quotes that we presented to you at last board meeting, and all the contracts collectively submitted a combination bid for the entire project package. But in that bid, they made very clear that their quotes were per item or per specific item that was addressed last month, in addition to the 2 additional items, and that they would honor those prices for a single item, multiple items, or the entire project. So we're just asking the board, if there's any one of these projects that you're particularly interested in, all of them, just give us some direction as to what you would like to pursue. Now, I brought Billy Damon with me, who was our head electrician, and he spearheaded a lot of the quotes and specs that particularly related to camera systems and DVRs and things of that nature. If you have any specific questions about the specs of those bidded items, then he's here to address those. But I would like to kind of bring your attention that we bid it for an alternate and why we bid it this as an alternate. This is a storefront that's located on the side of Baker. I wanted the board to be aware of the condition of that. There's been a lot of leakage over the years on this storefront. We have in the past year put a new roof that resulted in all of this leak, so we have no more leakage, but we do have a bad sagging on that soffit there. There's a huge sag in there, and that's, just a matter of time before that falls. And I can only share with you the potential of injury to students or staff walking through that particular area if that soffit were to give at any point in time. But I will reiterate, we have no more leaks, but you can see the extent of the damage in that storefront. It's quite extensive. Doors are leaking onto the hallways, and it definitely needs some attention fairly urgently. That is quoted in this bid for your consideration.
If you don't mind, how about, since there's several components to this, how about we just take them one at a time?
Absolutely.
To compare what they're quoting, since they can each be done individually with what was presented last month. Shall we just take them in order?
Okay.
The Car Hawk paging system, and that's for the central office. That's item number one.
Okay. I'm going to ask Billy to help us walk through this. He spec'd a lot of this stuff, so he can help me. The paging system for central office. Generally, it would be an intercom system that would provide someone from, actually two locations that could communicate to each office in this area in the event of required lockdown or an emergency or requested meetings and things of that nature from the superintendent. It involves an intercom system with speakers in every room, and beyond that, that's really to touch on specs.
Not only just central office, but it will actually cut with the building across the special department. The way it's set right now, if Mr. Christie's looking for somebody, if they're not in their office, it's wild goose chase. And if there is a case of emergency, something could happen in this building, or vice versa across the way, and nobody knows. So that will be a means of communication for this whole campus here.
So which building, the bus garage?
No, it's a central office in the special education department.
Okay.
Across the hallway, and it's, including that, there'll be speakers in every room. Like any meeting room will have volume control, so if you're doing something in here and you're having something during the actual work day, you'll be able to turn the volume on and off to where if you're having a meeting, you don't need to be interrupted.
Well, if there's an emergency. And this what it's about?
Well, there's one.
Is this what we're doing here?
Well, it's, the thing is, with that, we have that same thing in the schools, is certain times, there's gonna be buttons that that will set off a tone, that buttons hit, and just say you're having a particular board meeting, you're gonna have a loud alarm go off in this particular building. So it would only be a special occasions, but that is one of the capabilities that we put in the new intercom systems.
Why did the price go from $19,801 to $21,385?
Turn it off, why do you have it?
That I couldn't tell you unless
It was
it's,
for the lock, but that wasn't.
no, it could have been, just in the difference in the time frame, the way the quotes are. I'm not 100% sure on that, but I can get clarification on that tomorrow.
I would speculate that as it was bidded as a package, there's probably a markup on that now from Bates to contract with that subcontractor to install that system.
Is the proposal from New Tech still valid?
They didn't submit a bid.
Well, we got a proposal from them.
We got those proposals, just to get an estimate of what the cost would be, and then when we put it out in the paper to bid, they didn't bid on it. That's the difference between a proposal and a bid. When we officially put it out to bid, they didn't bid on it.
But I will say this, they are a state,
Yeah.
they are a state, so you really don't have to bid that particular.
Since I'm new, all right, 14 months, not that new. So are you saying that we had the option to go directly to New Tech and get it done at their $19,801 price?
If you want to go that way, I'm positive you can.
Okay.
If they would accept that, I mean, just put that contingency out there. I don't see any reason why they wouldn't, but
The direction I'm headed is to look at each one of these
Yes.
individually. And we can certainly circle around all of them and do whatever is the pleasure of the board.
So is Bates not on the,
But Bates is on the state bid list as well. Bates and New Tech, but the door contractors are not, that bid this.
Question for you, Donald, before we get too far down into the weeds. Is this going to require a BG1?
no.
okay, so we're still on the first one. The central office intercom system. So what I'm hearing is that even though Bates is on the state-approved list, as is New Tech, and Bates's bid is the 21,385, but New Tech's was 19-something last month.
New Tech's, keep in mind, New Tech's was not a bid. We just talked to them about.
But you all just said, if they're on the bid list, they didn't have to bid.
That price they gave was a proposal for what we just talked to them about. And I don't know if we talked to them about everything exactly as it was written and when we sent it out to bid. They would have to look and see exactly what the expectation was and give us a price.
We could ask them to honor their quote, original quote, because they are on the state bid list and there's not required to have submitted a bid based on our request for bids. So, but, you know, as
Okay.
Mr. Heisel suggested, we could contact them and ask them to honor that, but that would be up to them, whether they wanted to honor that quote that we submitted earlier, or
Okay.
whether they're committed to this project with Bates on their revised quote, or revised bid. And we're happy to do that, I mean, we can do that.
And I would suggest we could circle back around to any of these, as you all may desire, but then the next one, the access control system, this is quoted at $12,078. Does that match up with, the prior bid of $12,602?
I'm sorry, which one are we on now?
We're on the second
On the
one.
two.
The access control system, this is on your page 2 of 3. I'm just taking them in order.
Okay, I have a different order on this list, that's why I'm a little confused.
Okay. So this one is $12,078.
Okay, that's the central office. $12,007.
Can we flash those on the screen?
Sure.
Okay, so there should be a detail page for the Bates security quote. It's approximately
It's the next agenda item from the
11 pages.
list.
Yeah, try 12B. Here we go. Thank you, Mrs. Hicks.
You're welcome.
There's page 2, right there.
There we go.
That's the equipment. That is your access, central office access. Right? Access
The
to
question
the
is,
front
that's
desk.
the price that they gave you in the proposal.
I don't have a proposal, I don't know, you have last one.
Let's see, Sanitrol did this one.
So that's Bates.
Bates.
Oh, okay.
Sonatrol, yeah, Bates on Sonatrol.
And I wanted to ask a question, because we're down $584. Has it changed any, would probably be a reasonable question, the scope of work on that one.
From the quote that we presented last month, that's what you're referencing.
Yeah, I mean, in all fairness, the quote last month.
I think that one is exactly the same.
Was
as
$12,602, so it's gone down $524.
Okay.
And this is, This is the door controls, is that the best way to describe it?
Yes, door controls instead of everywhere you go, whichever on exterior door, you'll have to actually be badged in. There'll be no more codes, and then there'll be a record of anytime anybody enters the building.
And this system is the same system we have the rest of the district, so at the high school, they've got a badge system, and it's all integrated in, so we don't, you're not having to maintain yet something different.
No.
This dovetails in with what we already have.
Correct.
It's not, it'd be, from a maintenance standpoint, because it's the same general system.
It's the same thing we're used to working with, and we're able to keep up with everything on a day-to-day basis. If somebody comes in, you come in and there's a mess in the hallway, you get a button, it generates a report if you enter the building. There will be very minimal amount of keys left out to this building.
So how do I get in this building?
You would have a badge. And with that,
So is it a swipe or a touch?
swap, and with that ID badge,
Probably a touch.
the good thing about it is you can control access. You can say, well, I want to use this door to come in, or this door. It's not going to be free reign. You're going to control all your traffic to come into the building like we do at the other schools also.
Any further discussion on this item? Okay. All right, so that's 12,078. The next item, IP video system number 3, central office security camera and DVR system. The amount is 18,352, which precisely equals what we had last month.
That's both interior and exterior cameras around your central office, including cameras out around the special education area as well. With DVR, that's records, what's the recording time on it?
It'll hold about 30 days, and it will actually lead to where your SROs can monitor it, unlike the system we have now.
Kind of like the door access, this would dovetail into the current system.
Yes. It will tie right in with the existing system we have in 4 other buildings.
And so if there's something that's triggered at night, let's say through the door system, that you could, somebody perhaps at their home could pull this up and see what's going on.
Yes.
That's exactly right, which is really nice.
Yeah.
Same sort of system, we're not doing
Bring
something
it much
unique
live.
here.
But 4 buildings have it. What do the other 4 have?
They have a different Cornerstone Security. It's not an IP based. More of it's a scaled down version that does not have the capabilities this has. We can't log in from off site to view them. You have to be on the school network. And to be honest, the camera quality is not the same as what this would be. This will match like what's at the high school, Campbell, Concord, and Justice.
So will we be upgrading the others at some point in
Probably in
time?
the future, we should be.
Now, we do have DVR systems in those schools that record extended periods of time that we can use and pull up for evidence if we need to. We just can't view the cameras through IP addresses as we do the other schools.
But the answer is yes, they should be upgraded to match what, no one school should have any less than the other school.
You know, with the camera system, I'll take the high school, for instance, we've been out there going on 5 years now. We come in on the transition from analog to IP. At the high school, we have 1 megapixel. These are quoted at 5 megapixel. If you get on the camera systems and look at Campbell, that was put in a year and a half ago, they're 3.1, and it's night and day difference. It's just like the TV at your house. I mean, so it upgrades every year. So on camera systems, 5 to 7 years, you're looking at, you've got to start doing some upgrades.
Is I may not be using the correct term, but is the server board going to be here in this building?
Yes.
Okay, so,
It'll be tied in here to our network to where it'll have an IP address. Anybody that Mr. Christie or Mr. Sunset has access will be able to get on there, log on there and view that camera.
but normally all that data traffic is going to be here within this building.
It will be stored off-site. It'll traffic in the building, but it stores on Sonatrol's site, part of this system where it holds for 30 days.
I'm just wondering whether with the increase in the 5 megapixels, is that going to give us some additional load across our network?
No. It's going to be very minimal.
Okay. Any additional questions?
Would you like a piece?
We have chocolate.
I see that, you did. All righty.
You can have chocolate as we move through this item.
I'm working on it. I just want to make sure everyone has a chance to discuss. Glass wall and storefront door. This next item, $11,686.
Is this bulletproof glass?
No.
Why not?
I'm sorry, there's 3 glass door systems. What, is this the one we're on right?
This is
central office.
$11,686. That one right
This is
there.
central office, as you can see, the design, this changed from the previous design. When we were meeting with Mr. Christie and Mrs. Nance, they felt that we should have the bidders design this storefront in this capacity that would take and put the receptionist desk behind the glass window and allow us to come down the hallway and around that corner so that we didn't have to worry about a potential intruder being able to gain access either through Mrs. Nance's office or Mr. Holland's office, where that original storefront was going to be in that hallway. This actually comes out to the front beyond the receptionist desk, comes down that hallway and around the corner that would secure both Mrs. Nance's desk, or door, and Mr. Holland's. So it's good. It was more money because there's more glass and more structure, but that's what was proposed.
On the long wall there, if you look and see kind of the line, the bottom part of that will be a solid panel. So when your receptionist sits back there, it's, her desk will be below the panel and just have glass on the top side with a window that will open in the center if somebody's coming needing to pick something up or drop something off.
And the access controls.
So where's
will be
that?
connected to
I'm
that.
sorry.
If you want a field trip, it's 100 feet away.
It starts, if you look at this, as you're looking at the picture, on the left-hand side, that starts against the office where
Kathy is.
Can someone go point, please? I don't do graphics.
Starts Ms. Jarman's office right there.
And it'll come over and tie in on Miss Nance's office
That
wall.
little return goes to her office.
You'll have the door in the center, and right here in the middle will be a window for the receptionist, if somebody needs to pick something up or drop something off, to where you don't have people just walking
Okay.
back in this way.
Okay, so this door in relation to Miss Nance's office, when you go through that door, where is the
Right
door to
down there,
her office?
It's gonna be center of the hallway.
It was
Whatever that opening is in the hallway now, the door will be in the dead center.
If you open that door and started walking straight,
Okay.
Mrs. Nance's office would be to your right, Mr. Holland's would be to your left, you go
Okay.
into that hallway.
Got it.
The original quote placed the door past those 2 doorways.
Right,
Which
right.
made it a lot cheaper.
Yes,
But the concern was not
Yes.
closing the reception.
got it. Got it. Thank you.
I didn't mean to exclude you all, but I just wanted to clarify with Mr. Christie. He says that this drawing and the design was something that he was involved with heavily, and this is the design that he likes.
That's true.
He's actually the one that met with them, we wasn't even there that day.
Well, that's another way to put it. I just wanted to make sure you all know this came from our superintendent. In terms of the design, so I think knowing that, we could probably forego the field trip.
Okay.
Okay?
And we don't have to have an architect in here to do that?
We do not.
Okay.
Super.
Y'all want to talk about this one some more, move on?
I'm good, I understand after the pointing back
Okay,
there.
all right. The next item is superintendent office door and side exit out of gathering room, $13,580. Did the scope of this change?
We did. We quoted an estimate of the door that would be exit this boardroom, which would be located.
Is this
behind
the
you.
gathering room?
No, this is for an exit door that's located
I
directly
mean,
behind.
where we are now, are we in
Yes.
the gathering room?
Yeah,
Yes.
you'll go, it'll be
Yes.
right behind that door there.
Okay,
Yeah, or this one.
This is the gathering room.
news to me, but now, got it.
Well,
I'll watch my terminology
Gathering
from now on.
room. Exit out here outside. And additionally, we added a metal frame door that would go in Mr. Christie's office, because once you put the vestibule up in the hallway out front, the weakest point of entry is a wooden door that goes directly into the superintendent's office. So
That door will be exit only with the door closer, so it can't be propped open in this bid.
From where to
From
where?
From the
office,
front foyer.
meeting, the not the gathering room, but the meeting room in my office there where the table is, there's a door that
Yes,
goes in the
okay.
front. It's gonna replace that hollow plastic hollow core door with a metal frame door.
So we
With
wouldn't
the
do
door on
anything
the outside of
else.
the glass.
With very long screws for the strike.
I would certainly hope so. Metal door, hard to get through. And then additionally, the exit door here that would, so that's what that total quote's for.
Do y'all have any questions about this item? Okay. Then I think it's actually a subtotal, but we can move on to the next item, which is the bus garage, number 4. The video system, security camera and DVR system, $13,710.
Might add, these cameras would take in the new pumps that we're putting in and everything there too, monitor the new pump system and everything we don't have in.
It will give us the capability, we didn't price that because we're not for sure where everything's gonna be yet, but that will be an additional, probably $1,200 to $1,400, but right now, we have no way of monitoring the pumps once they're put in.
But this will give us the capacity.
It will give us the capacity, and it will cover our upper bus garage parking lot, inside the garage, and the exterior of the bus garage.
The one from central office will cover the lower bus garage parking lot. So the entire bus garage will be covered with video surveillance.
It looks like this amount is the same amount we had last month, so there's no change on this. And just to note, there's a monthly monitoring, I guess, of $30 a month.
Yes.
Questions about this item?
What, where's the monthly monitoring, sorry?
Monthly investment.
That's your
So is that a monitoring?
That's pretty much our off-site tech support for our camera system. If it goes down, some of the stuff we don't have access to, that we can call and get things back up and going without having a tech come out.
Okay, so all of these items that have that monthly investment thing, that's a monitoring cost each month?
I think I used the wrong word. Your description is probably more precise.
It's more of our, they call it your monthly monitor, but it's kind of our monthly tech support with them. If we have a problem with them, I can call them, they'll log in remotely, try to get our systems back up and going on this one. But on the other one, it is a monitoring on access controls. And what that does is they set up all of our access controls, they run all of our reports and store all that information.
The $85 a month?
Yes.
So is that included in the total installation investment?
It is not.
It is not. That would be
Where that fee will be addressed is in the individual building or school security line item under the maintenance budget. Each school has a line item specific to security, and we would attach that monthly monitoring fee to that line item under the maintenance budget. It's not included in the overall cost that the board's considering for that project.
Okay, but it's still gonna be a board cost.
It will be a line item out of the bus garage, security line item under their maintenance budget, which is technically general fund, but I mean, it's a budget, it's their transportation budget's line item for security.
That's not currently included in the budget.
That is currently included.
Okay, so currently included, okay.
Then the next item is the access control system for the preschool. Make sure I'm looking at this one correctly. So this is $4,492.
This is a front vestibule or window glass that would create a vestibule at the entrance of the Hannibal Court preschool site.
Is it bulletproof glass?
This is preschool, right?
This is just the access controls. On this, for those two doors, they'll have to be the same way. An A-phone on one that the receptionist will buzz somebody in, and then a badge reader for staff to enter in that door. And it's actually going to be two doors at that school because there's going to be a vestibule if you go with this, coming in the front of the preschool and then one going up to the library ramp.
Okay.
Yeah, two glass fronts.
Yes.
Yeah.
And this actually would be all the access security to that glass, that security vestibule, if that were something you approved, so kind of go one with the other.
Are there currently outside doors at the end of that ramp? Up as you go into the library?
Yes. But you'd want to secure going to the library and into the
Yes.
main part of the building. And it would create a pretty good space in there for a visiting vestibule. Folks can get in and then be scanned once again by an employee to ensure that they should be granted access into that building. Right now, it's fairly insecure. And all of your schools would have security vestibules if you were to approve that for the preschool. With the, we need a little work at the Phoenix Academy, but they do have a vestibule, at least on that front entrance, that we can work with. But this would complete the vestibules in all of your school buildings in the district.
So Baker's vestibule?
Baker has a vestibule.
Oh, they're just, but no, that's not what the receptionist is, right?
She's on the inside.
Okay.
Right.
Any chance down the road, if we happen to be building a new preschool, that some of these parts could be reused?
Your access control parts, as far as your power supplies and locks can be used, doors, storefronts, more than likely not.
Depends.
They're going to be built just to that particular opening.
Okay. Anything more on this item? Okay, moving to the next item, to make sure I'm looking at this correctly.
That's actually the two glass fronts that we talked about in the preschool, are those two
Okay, so
sections.
those doors right there,
Going to the library in the preschool.
is this is $25,532 for this storefront system? Do I understand this correctly?
Yes.
Probably
That's
not
correct.
understanding it is.
No,
It's
no.
gotta be more expensive than that for $25,000.
You've got two separate storefronts there. On that one, I think it's high myself, but you're tying one of them in the way it's got to tie in, you're dropping from a 10-foot ceiling down. They said the way that they have to tie it together. And the same thing with the other one, you're tying into a plastered ceiling, that it's something to do with the way they have to tie them in. And to be honest, my personal opinion on that one, I think we need to have a conversation about that price with them.
And what are best cores are to be provided by owner? So that's not even included in,
That's just the core that are key, and the reason we do that is we have our own key system. If we provide the cores, we can control what keys are being made, they can't be
Okay.
duplicated.
okay.
And those are, I think they're about $55 a piece. So you're looking at, each door, you're looking at an additional $250.
Let me reiterate what you just said is, I think you just told us point blank that that particular item, if we were asking your opinion would be maybe to defer that item right there so we could receive further study.
That's my opinion, and that Sonatrol, they actually, when they turned this in, that was the only one they questioned, just for the simple fact, if you look at it, like you said, they have to be more to it than that. The size of them, it's, for $25,000, it's worth getting a second opinion on that.
And I would just note that the company that installs that is not on the state bid list, so that would have to be rebid if we were looking at any other vendor or even a price change. I think we would have to rebid that particular project because they partnered with Bates to submit that.
The one reason we do like Newbie Glass is their storefronts, essentially the quality is a lot better and they hold up better. We've put 3 of them in the past 10 years and we've had no problem with them.
Let's talk about timeframes. If, let's say we said, what the heck, let's go ahead and approve this right now. Could this be done and ready before the school year starts? And then the second half of the question is, if we don't do it now and put it off for the next meeting, do you think realistically we'd still have it done and ready before the school
Well,
year starts?
the only uncertainty is the lead time for the glass. I think we waited 6 weeks for the Stroh.
You're 6 to 8, maybe 10 weeks on the storefronts, and the only other thing would be time frame with the vendor. If they've got a couple of big projects going on, where they're hitting 3 or 4 locations, that would be the only holdup. But as far as the storefront, just like the one at Baker, you're talking, that's 2 days. Central office, I'm gonna say would be a weekend deal. That would be done over a weekend. And you're probably looking at 2 days on the storefronts at Hannah McClure.
For installation.
For installation, and then time you get your access controls and that stuff in, you're talking 3 to 4 days each location having a functioning door.
The lead time for the glass is the way.
Yeah.
where I'm getting around to is if we said, let's get some more information on this and brought it back next month, do we think it's a reasonable expectation that we could have this approved next month?
Done before the start of the
Done
school.
before the start of the school.
Certainly, that's reasonable.
Okay. Again, there's no certainty. Oh, good on that one. Then we'll move on then to the, an alternate proposal, which is the soffit repair at Baker in the amount of $8,776.
That's
Now, let me make sure, so there's two parts here. The soffit repair is 8,776, and to replace that storefront is 18,190.
Yes.
And the total is 26,966.
That's correct.
Soffit being the area up above.
That I showed you was sagging up under the, in the exterior soffit area. Completely replacing that with new metal.
I think they're actually priced going back with the same soffit material so it matches the rest of the building.
That's demo and reinstallation. That's soffit.
So the same thing that hasn't been satisfactory?
No, the reason it hasn't been satisfactory is
Because
because
of
of
the
roof leak.
Okay, and the roof no longer leaks,
Brand new roof on there.
and it no longer leaks?
Brand new roof that does not leak.
Okay. Because when it was brand-new building, it leaked the first day, the first event they had in it, it leaked.
This is your full roof. It's a completely different roofing project. The metal is what the problem was. This is not metal over that storefront.
To make sure that my math is correct on this, the total with the alternate is 147,781.
That's correct.
And if we remove the preschool vestibule, is that the right terminology? Or the storefront, it's called the preschool storefront of 25,532. I get 122,249.
But if you remove the preschool storefronts, you would actually remove the other
Access controls too.
You'd hold
4492.
You'd hold off on the access.
Yeah,
controls.
because without the doors, you don't need the access controls on those two doors.
Okay.
So how are we controlling access?
They have a phone on the outside of the door, like if somebody comes up to the front
So the
door.
same way we're doing it now?
Yes,
That we've said it's not, that we've
Yes.
said it's not satisfactory.
correct.
So if we took that part off, that would reduce it to 117,757, then you don't do the preschool work.
Correct.
If one wanted to approve it under that design.
I think Mr. Christie needs you.
Yes, sir.
Got an issue with our disciplinary hearings we have.
Can you take a break?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, we're taking a break. Let's take a break here. A 10-minute or so break. It's 9:12 p.m. Okay? All right with you all?
Yep.
Okay?
Is this to conduct the disciplinary hearing
We
now?
have two hearings that but
We've got an issue.
we got an issue out with.
We need to.
9:20 PM.
I thought we were out until 9:21. I thought when you left, you said we'd reconvene at 9:21. Did I just dream that? Never mind, sorry.
You got a pencil over there. I forgot to count, so, Ms. Perry Ritchie. I thought she was, I thought
You got 20 seconds to get back.
Does she have protection out there?
Good. Good. 9:21. If I could be right on time. 9:21. All right, we were talking about the proposal from Bates Security, it had several different components to it. Where we last left off was I'd done a calculation saying if we exclude at this point in time, we change to the preschool, that would reduce the amount to $117,757, which includes the alternative acre. That was, what discussion do you all want to have regarding this item? Any further discussion? Pros, cons, motion, et cetera, et cetera?
I want to know what the plan is for the preschool safety issues. If we're taking that part out of this proposal.
It would be my perspective that we would ask the folks to review this one item again and bring it back on the next regular board meeting and on the 20th of April, the one particular item.
Did New Tech bid this?
No.
Like when they, or did they quote, or whatever it was?
No, it was Economy Glass.
Okay,
Which is not a vendor with state.
okay.
Then the other side alternate would be to pull out the central office intercom system, the amount of $21,385 from this entire contract and see if we can go back to New Tech.
And it was 19.
So if we
19 something.
Pull that out, it'd be 21,385 subtracted, so that would reduce it to 96,372, and I would imagine we could do a directive to approve the original amount and go back to the vendor and see if they would honor that. Again, just
Well, I would just note that the current bid was for $21,385, is that?
Yeah.
If anything over 20,000, we would still need to,
But the original proposal was 19,801, so my
So we
question
can-
then would be, would you honor your original proposal?
okay, I understand,
It's $1,584, it's $1,584 for the district.
which would keep it up to 20,000.
Well, it would happen to be under 20,000.
Right.
That was not my intent. My intent was to see if we could save $1,584.
Be happy to do that, if that's what the board directs.
What y'all think?
How much delay, if we parse these things out, would this entail? Because, I mean, we're talking about school safety things. I think it's incumbent upon us to get this stuff done.
I don't think you would have much of a delay on the New Tech intercom system. I think they would work with us on that, would be my prediction. With the preschool, you could be significantly delayed. And what I would feel comfortable saying with regard to that, as much as I appreciate Billy's opinion and that of Sonatrol is not, this is not their area of expertise. And this company quoted several other storefronts for different prices for particular reasons. And I think they've made note that this area in the preschool is plaster wall, it's a different structure, it's a different height. And I would trust that as a company quoting that project, they were aware of specs that either Sonatrol or others may not have been aware of, and that might be the basis for their quote. If we delay that out, we're probably looking at sometime in the summer for that to be installed for that.
If you delay the doors, any of them, you can count on adding 2 months. if you say we're going to wait till the next board meeting, you can count on, you've added minimum 8 weeks, if not 12, the time you look at lead time to get the doors in.
I'd also note that we had this out for bid for a good piece of time, and not another single bid came in from another vendor.
Let me run down another set of math then. $147,781, if we pulled out just the central office intercom of $21,385, that would reduce that contract with base then to $126,399. And then potentially separately, we could approve the $19,801 proposal directly to New Tech.
I move that we do that.
I don't, is that your motion?
As itemized by Mr. Heisel, to accept the 147,781 less the 21,982. 385 for Bates Security for the items as enumerated in the quote or bid, as the case may be.
And the intent is the 21,385 is to be, that's the New Tech piece, right?
No, it's 19 something.
Well, the part we're taking out is 21,385.
Right, yes.
And then I would expect we would have a follow-up motion.
Right, for a different vendor
Yes.
for that, but I don't think they should be in the same motion. My motion is for the Bates one without the part that's the 21,382.
So you could exclude that one component from the Bates bid and then re-motion.
Yes.
So right now, we have a motion on the floor by Mrs. Hicks.
That excludes item number 6. Central Office Intercom System. I guess that's item number 6 from the list, the Bates list.
Is there a second? I'll second it. Second by Dr. Kudak. Any further discussion on this item? Okay, no further discussion. We'll call for a vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, so that motion passes 5-0.
And now, can the motion be made regarding the New Tech item in the,
Yes. So let me pull this back up here. If you don't mind. So referencing what was in our packet from last month, we had a proposal from New Tech dated February the 1st, 2018, document ID NSIQ 21729, which was for the paging system here in the central office, the amount of $19,801.
okay. I move that we contact New Tech regarding the central office paging system that was quoted on February 1 at a price of $19,801 to see if New Tech will honor that. Was it an estimate or a quote? It's an actual quote. If they will honor that quote.
And if so,
that we accept that quote for item,
the $19,801.
the $19,801 installation.
I'll second that.
All right, so we have a motion by Mrs. Hicks, second by Dr. Kudak. Is there any further discussion? Okay, no further discussion. We'll vote then. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
That motion passes 5-0.
Now, if they will not honor it, then do we have to bring this one back separately? Can we do a contingent?
We'd have to come back to you and say, they're not gonna honor that.
Okay.
We have a bid of 21,000, do you want to accept that, or do you want to rebid it?
I think we probably don't want to be contingent.
Okay. Okay.
All righty, that's item number 12.
See you early.
Item number 13, consider approval of project graduation 2018 donation in the amount of $2,500.
Mr. Bowen couldn't be here this evening, he had a family issue.
I move to approve as written.
Second.
All righty, so no further discussion on this item. There's a motion to approve that by Mr. Peridot and a second by Ms. Hicks. Any further discussion after the motion? Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes 5-0. Now we have the consent agenda items. I believe we normally then pull out item number 31. So for items 14 through 30, would anyone like to discuss any of those items in more detail? Okay. If not, then a motion will be in order. Do I need to read through all of this and then?
Yes,
get a
to
motion?
enter them into
All
the
right,
record.
Thank you. All right. So item number 14, consider approval of George Rogers Clark High School smoke signal strip to Washington DC to experience Newseum, April 18 through 21, 2018. Item 15, consider approval of George Rogers Clark High School softball to participate in KHSAA state tournament in Owensboro, Kentucky, June 6 through 9, 2018. Item 16, consider approval of George Rogers Clark High School bass fishing team to participate in the Lake Cumberland State Open. Item number 17, consider approval of Baker Intermediate School Band to participate in KMEA assessment on March 21, 2018 in Lexington, Kentucky. Item number 18, consider approval of Baker Intermediate School Odyssey of the Vine team trip to participate in state competition in Union, Kentucky, March 24, 2018. Item 19, school fundraiser request. Item 20, acknowledge SBDM minutes. Item 21, acknowledge community eligibility program. Item 22, approval of employee leave of absence. Item 23, acknowledge the notice of personnel action report. Item 24, acknowledge monthly energy report. Item 25, acknowledge the Clark County Clerk's motor vehicle tax report. Item 26, acknowledge the Clark County Sheriff's report. 27, acknowledge the monthly financial report. Item 28, acknowledge the general fund budget summary report. Item 29, acknowledge the contingency budget report. And item number 30, acknowledge the balance sheet report.
I move that we approve or acknowledge items 14 through 30 as enumerated.
Okay, motion by Mrs. Hicks,
Second.
second by Ms. Ritchie. Any further discussion? All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes 5-0. Item number 31, authorize payment of salaries and accounts payable.
I move that we pay salaries and accounts payable.
Motion by Mrs. Hicks,
Second.
second by Ms. Ritchie. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That motion passes 5-0. Make sure I have it in front of me, the agenda. Okay. Item 32 is a closed session item. So this would be to adjourn to a closed session for disciplinary hearings per KRS 61.810, Section 1, subsection F, discussions or hearings which might lead to the employment, discipline, or dismissal of an individual employee or student. Do I hear a motion to adjourn to closed session?
You make that motion.
Second.
So the motion to adjourn to closed session then is made by Ms. Ritchie and the second by Mrs. Hicks. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Nay. So it is now 9:34 p.m. and we are now in closed session.